It is Friday. Yes, we made it to the weekend. A lot of folks are still off.
Yep.
But we're here.
We're here.
And thank you for joining us for Live Impact News on WCNC Plus this afternoon. I'm Nick Sertovan. Across from me is the talented super producer, Carlene Bragg. How are you doing?
Hi, Nick.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's Friday.
It is Friday, guys. Let's get excited because it is Friday.
It's Friday.
And the news doesn't stop. We have a lot
Sure doesn't.
going on. We have a lot. And I don't want to say it like a lot, like it's a drag. No, it's a lot good stuff, some
Right.
good, valuable stuff, some stuff that you should know. We're going to get an update on the weather. We're going to talk with Duke Energy about how you can save some money. I know you like saving money because I like saving money. And also saving energy, another important component about that. We're going to get some updates from our reporters and their stories. We have some live elements happening right now. Did I mention weather?
Weather.
I did mention weather, right?
Not
I said
yet.
weather.
Now we're mentioning weather.
Okay, but I thought I said weather before. But
Did
I just want to reiterate.
You say a lot of things.
I say a lot of things. I say a lot of things. We want to get to the forecast because
It's hot.
it's hot. But it is a Nick pick.
It is a
It's
Nick
not
pick.
as hot as it has been.
Right.
And it's a Nick pick, and we got meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees here in the Live Impact studio.
Yay! What I'm looking forward to this weekend, and this is totally selfish, is
Okay.
the fact that when there's storms, your girl has to be at work extra early. And Carlene knows when we make plans we want to hang out with the dogs, and I have to go into work at noon, I am not pleased. So a weekend with no storms means Summer Brittany gets to come out.
Oh,
Summer Brittany gets to go hang out
man.
on Sunday before I have to come
Whee!
into work without the concern of storms. So
That's right.
But
Boom.
is it going to be? I know you'll get into this, but today is like the best feeling day, right?
Yeah, probably the
compared
best
to-
feeling day that we will have until September.
Oh, okay.
That's right, Nick.
And it's
Take a deep
because
breath.
we actually have some slightly lower humidity. So
Yeah.
that front that came through yesterday that caused the flooding, of course,
Yeah.
in Burke and Caldwell counties,
Mhm.
and some wind damage in Alexander and Iredell, and of course, Catawba and Lincoln as well, had one benefit. The dew point is back in the 50s.
Oh man,
How was your run this morning?
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Felt great.
Yeah.
And then I got a little sad because I knew that
You know, knew it was
It's
only
short-lived.
lasting
it's
one day.
short-lived. I have a race tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Oh.
8
At
a.m.
Well, it
8K.
won't be as nice as right now, but it
Yeah.
won't be as bad as next week.
Okay, I feel better about that. Even though I stay hydrated with the sunscreen,
Yeah, you know what to do.
but I still get a little nervous about the heat.
How far are you running?
It's 8K, so a little under 5 miles.
Okay.
So
You have a time in mind?
my goal about 50 minutes, under 50 minutes.
Good for
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so
Good for you.
nice moderate pace.
Yeah.
I just want to enjoy it. I'm not really.
Yeah.
I say that now, but I'm competitive. Huh?
Yeah.
You're a perfectionist.
I am.
Well, remember, strategy. What's your strategy normally?
I usually start out a little slower, and then I gradually speed up.
Progressive build.
Yeah,
Love
because the
it.
first mile I want to fill it out, and then I kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my strategy.
Yeah. This is like the little bit of the fitness side starting to come in, but there's 3 main components. Progressive build,
Okay.
hit and hold, which is like where you hit the same pace.
Okay.
It's like think like gas in a car, and then alternating between a higher pace and lower pace. I'm a
gotta
fan
work
of
on the third.
progressive build.
I got a third. I gotta work on a third one.
Yeah, but I think it's just different strategy.
Okay,
I'm a
that's
fan
fair.
of the progressive build. Like you
Yeah.
start in something you can
Yeah.
maintain, and you just slowly increase. as you go.
That's me all the way. See, this is why
Yeah,
This
I'm
is why-
kind of opposite when I run.
y-
I start out.
Yeah.
you and Jeb are like.
We start out fast.
I'm like,
Yeah.
slow down, guys. Slow
Well, you know,
down.
Yeah.
You get it out while you have the
Well, it's
energy.
also just different too in like how you run, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like an Olympic athlete that runs like a long distance, like they probably don't have a good mile time. Like it's not
Right.
they're built and like trained for one specific thing. So
Yeah.
Right.
Now since I have lower back issues, we won't get into that. I'm a very slow jogger, so I'm a fan of the progressive build.
But you-
Let's talk about the forecast.
Oh yeah. Enough about my running.
Yeah, enough about fitness. It's a great day.
Yeah.
Dallas Tower Cam, nice and clear, much different than yesterday when we were looking at storms towering, 56. And you love when that temperature and that feels like are pretty much the same because it feels fantastic outside. The dew points, unfortunately, are going to soar heading into tomorrow and the weekend. We could see a few dips here and there next week, but we're primarily going to be muggy, if not humid. Now, I'm a fan of this graphic. I have gotten emails before saying that people do not like this graphic because they think it's silly, but I'm a big fan, so I'm going to show it anyway. Muggy meter, we're smiles now. We might be frowning or a little surprised heading into tomorrow afternoon. There we are, and then Sunday. Look at all those shocked faces.
Shocked.
The
Shock and awe.
shocked, yeah, the shocked face, the sad face, or the little tongue out face. Those are the ones that are the most humid. So I think it's just a nice little way to show how sticky it is because when I just give you numbers, how the heck are you supposed to know, right? Doppler radar right now, dry and quiet. We're not dealing with any rain-related issues, so we're continuing to watch, of course, water levels recede in some of those areas that had flooding yesterday. I do want to give a quick recap. We did, of course, have some wind damage reports in Catawba County, Lincoln County, but it was primarily flooding in that area in Caldwell County near Valmead, pretty much right between Lenoir and Patterson. Thankfully, multiple days with no rain, so we're not expecting additional issues in those same spots I had it before. I think there could be a stray shower mainly south of Charlotte tomorrow, but again, I'm still keeping us at 0% because it's going to be the exception, not the rule. Tomorrow morning, right around 70, so again, it won't be quite as nice as this morning, Nick, but still relatively nice start. Highs will soar, though, into the mid-90s. So we just have to kind of think of today as great, and tomorrow and Sunday, not to bring us back, but as a progressive build. Will be a little bit more sticky Saturday, a little bit more sticky Sunday, and then Monday it's going to take off and skyrocket. In fact, last year the National Weather Service put out this new 3-day heat impacts map, and it's just a general idea of how much heat impact they expect there to be based on what the feels like temperature, of course, is, which I know we talked about earlier this week, is the combination of the heat and the humidity. It is not a random number that the meteorologists throw out because they're feeling sassy that day. It is a scientific calculation. So based on the heat and humidity combined, right now it looks like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are going to be our hottest and stickiest days, with the exception kind of placed on Tuesday and Wednesday. Anytime you get a heat index over 103, that's where you start to see those heat cramps, heat exhaustion start to be issues. Remember that whatever the air temperature is where you are, if you're in the direct sunlight for about an hour, you got to add about 10 to 15 degrees. The more hours you're outside in the direct sun, the more it feels hotter outside. So right now we're looking at today, 90. Oh, actually, I updated this graphic, but I didn't roll in the right one. Stand by, everybody.
Standing.
Stand by.
Standing.
That was
Everybody
the
hold,
one that
pause.
Chris and Majesta were using this morning. I wanted to start with tomorrow, but then also I updated this just with some updated numbers. So again, today the actual air temperature matching with the temperature is.
Wow.
Boom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, sorry, just progress one day. We have multiple we have multiple graphics, of course, and we have a lot that are like AM versus PM. And I think Chris Mulcahy accidentally updated my PM one, but it's okay. So I made a new one. So here we go. So Saturday and Sunday, mid to upper 90. So again, that progressive build up into that feels like temperature nearing 100. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I think those will be our hottest and most humid days of next week. Now, we will have to watch and kind of see how things progress, because what sometimes happens, which we love to see it doesn't mean the forecast is as accurate, but I won't complain about this, is sometimes what happens is we get to Monday and the dew point isn't quite as sticky as we expected, so that feels like a 103 can quickly drop to around 100. So as we go throughout the next few days, we will adjust these numbers, of course. But if you have outdoor plans, you work outside, the kids are going to be at summer's camp, vacation Bible school, whatever, they're going to be outside. I think Monday through Wednesday are the 3 biggest days. We'll probably still feel those feels like temperatures near or above 100. Thursday and Friday, just not quite as hot. And then look at the extended forecast. We will eventually bring in some low chances for rain, so temperatures won't be quite as warm. But look at those temps. Even if the feels like temperature does not approach 105, we're looking at, I would say, the next 5 days, probably every single day. Not to bring up this word again, but progressive build. Every single day is going to be hotter than the next. So our highest temperature so far this year is 91, 93, 95, 97, 99. Just a step ladder, slowly but surely. And I will say, it's actually really hard for us here in the South to get to a high temperature in the upper 90s, low 100s, because actually, as time has gone on, yes, we're hot every day of the summer, but it's harder to get to 100 now than it used to be because of the humidity. So I know that seems like a crazy thing to say, but we've hit Charlotte 103 4 times. It's the hottest temperature in the city. But decades ago, it wasn't as humid. So the actual air temperature was probably also 103. But now, because it's muggy outside and it takes way more energy to warm up moist air than dry air, it actually gets harder to get into the 100s. But the feels like temperature.
I was about to say the feels like temperature.
Yeah. So it's an increase more in the moisture content and the humidity. So it doesn't mean that it's not as hot now as it used to be, of course, because it is. But depending on what day and what year it is, you'll notice more heat index value is that high, but it is a little bit harder to get to 100. The difference is, though, is we hit upper 90s multiple days, whereas we didn't do that as much back in the day. Same reason why April and March were some of the warmest months on record, but then May was so cool and dry, it averaged out to not the warmest spring on record.
Man. Not, you know what? But hey, we're here.
We're here.
It's summer.
Yeah.
It's summer.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing I said yesterday. I wasn't here yesterday,
powerful.
but I was on the show. Is that, yes, we get hot during the summer, but don't come at me saying that we're this hot every single summer. It depends on the year. Sometimes we have 5 days in a row of feels like temperatures above 100. Sometimes it's 3 days. We normally don't see a stretch more than about 5. So seeing a prolonged heat wave is a little bit abnormal. But it's not even just because we don't get so many consistent days like this. It's because it's the first one. It's not like we're trying to be dramatic. We know it gets hot in the South.
And the most most important thing, just be safe.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you know to stay safe and you are taking those precautions, you'll be fine. But there, unfortunately, is a reason why heat is the #1 killer in the United States when it comes to a weather impact, because you can't see heat. So it's like a forgotten risk sometimes. Versus you can see a tornado, you can see wind, you can see hail.
And I learned something this week. Brad told me that he runs in the middle of the day. I didn't know that.
Brad runs in the middle of the day?
Yeah.
He basically runs when he wakes up. So he doesn't actively get up and try to hit the coolest part.
You'd think he would.
He says he's a freak and he's trained for it. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trained for
He
it.
literally said,
I think
he literally said, I don't take my own advice.
So, because I was saying, we were in the 4 o'clock show, we said this on air, and I said, hey, I see people out there running in the middle of the day. I don't know how they do it. And Brad said, actually, I do it.
Yeah.
I am those
I guess it
people.
also depends on what you consider middle of the day. Because, I guess really solar noon, the hottest time, he's probably at work. So
Yeah.
if it's the coolest part of the morning
That's
versus
fair.
the hottest, it's probably somewhere in the middle, because by the time we're hitting our peak heat index, he's physically in the building.
That's
But still, running at noon is still insanity.
So
in
it's
my
a do as I
opinion.
say, not as I do situation for Brad Panovich when it comes to running out.
I mean, he said it, not us.
He said it. He said it.
Yeah.
He said it.
But I mean, we're all guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just,
Wear your sunscreen.
Sunscreen,
Yeah.
hydrate,
Drink water.
wear
Wear a hat.
the water, wear
Yeah.
the hats.
Take breaks inside.
Take breaks in the shade.
Listen to your body.
Listen to your body. We know some people have to work outside. They have no other choice but to be
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
So please listen to your body.
And I would say if you have, like whether they're people you live with or your neighbors or whoever, check on the elderly, check on people with
Yeah.
young kids. If you know friends or family too that maybe don't have air conditioning in their home, maybe invite them to spend a few hours over, or even let them stay, whatever it is. We need temperatures to also cool off at night so that our body can kind of reset for the next day. So a lot of heat-related illnesses can sometimes be caused by like prolonged lack of AC. So
Right.
even if it's only like, I say only, but even if it's 93, and not a heat index of 105, so many days exposed to that heat can also cause
take a
other
toll.
heat.
Yeah.
It actually increases your cardiovascular risk
Huh.
for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like you said, make sure you check on the elderly folk, those children.
Check on your people.
Check
I
on
feel
your
like it's
people,
for
yeah.
everything, right?
Because I remember working in rural South Carolina early
Yeah.
in my career, and it's very rural, obviously, and there are a lot of people that did not
That didn't
have
have it.
AC,
Yeah.
and you walk into the house, it's like 80 degrees, 90 degrees.
And that's their normal, but it's still.
Yeah, but still, it's a dangerous
At a certain
situation.
age,
Yeah.
like it's dangerous.
Yeah. And look, so there are a lot of
Yeah.
folks out there that don't have the AC. So check on your folks, as Brittany said. Brittany, we love having you in studio.
I love having myself in studio with you.
That's
Sorry,
the
that was a really roundabout way to say I love being in studio with you next sort of event. Also, I love you too, Carlene.
I love you, Britt. You're welcome back anytime.
You are.
Well, I heard you guys have a busy day, so get to it.
Yeah, we
Get
have
to
a
work.
busy day. We have a busy day. Brittany, we'll check in with you a little later. That's Brittany Van Voorhees. Again, I just want to say this again. Check on your people.
Check
a lot
on
of
your
folks with no
people.
AC, having to work outside. So,
Yeah.
make sure you check on them. Do what you got to do. All right, so where we want to get to next,
We
Carlene?
should probably touch the situation on the North Carolina-Tennessee line here.
Yeah, rock slide situation there earlier this week along I-40 on the Tennessee-North Carolina border. Did you see? And you guys at home may have seen that press conference. Did you see that press conference from yesterday? Officials were very emotional.
Yeah.
Because I could only imagine, right?
Right.
They've done a lot of work post-Helene to bring back I-40 to help with recovery efforts, and then you have this which impedes that progress.
All that progress.
And you just want to make your community whole again.
It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, your heart breaks for them.
So we got an update from them, but we also got a chance to hear from those officials from TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation. We actually heard from the communications officer there with TDOT, spoke with Colin Mayfield yesterday during the Live Impact News stream. Let's listen into that interview.
We're just in the early parts of this repair, it seems like. I mean, I know you guys have been working on I-40 for more than 10 months now, as I just said, but it seems like this has hampered the progress, right?
Well, we're continuing to assess that entire section of roadway. I mean, where the flooding and the rock slide occurred 24 hours ago, that is around mile marker 450, very close to the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. Hurricane Helene recovery on I-40 is in 7 separate sections between mile marker 446 and mile marker 451. We do believe that's one of those sections where we're trying to rebuild I-40 was affected by this recent rock slide and flooding. Fortunately, it looks like Mother Nature's going to do us a little bit of a favor over the next week or so, have a lot of dry conditions, not very much rain. That'll allow us to continue to investigate, see what else needs to be done on that one section of I-40 for Hurricane Helene recovery. But certainly anybody who travels on the interstate between Tennessee and North Carolina, what we saw yesterday and what we're dealing with right now is certainly the last thing that anybody wants to deal with.
Absolutely. Can totally agree with those sentiments. I actually travel that corridor quite heavily to get my children in Knoxville who live in Louisville. So for me, it was great when you guys opened one lane on both sides. That was just, and I know North Carolina was involved in that as well, but I cannot tell you the stress that took off. And I know now, the pressure's back on. So like I said, I feel for you guys and thinking about that. As we know, it's such a critical corridor for Tennessee and North Carolina to work together. And I know you guys are making that a priority, I guess. Can I ask, in terms of the debris and really just the rock slides, right? It leads me to believe that if we see heavy rain again, which we're in that mode, that things like this could happen maybe along other parts of I-40. I mean, what are the concerns going through this severe weather season that you guys are still thinking on? Do you think this could happen again potentially?
It's certainly possible. This is an area that has proven to be prone to rock slides and mudslides, some flooding. So seeing what we've seen since yesterday is not extremely foreign. I mean, it's something that folks in this area are used to. The good news, at least, that while there's a lot of debris on the roadway, a lot of mud, still standing water that we've got to wait to when that recedes, the good news is that this is not nearly as extensive as what we saw with Hurricane Helene. I mean, that wasn't just a generational storm, that was a multi-generational storm. It was something we've never seen before in our part of the country. Hopefully we never see that again. The work for this rock slide and flooding, we anticipated taking about 2 weeks until we get I-40 back to what it was before Wednesday afternoon. And our crews and our contractors will work diligently to get this roadway back open as quickly as possible.
My next question, Mark, is about those detours. I know you guys already have those up there. What should drivers realize as they are getting towards this area, and what detours would you suggest for folks to use?
Well, it's a good thing that there are multiple interstates in this area that folks can use to get around the state line, Tennessee, North Carolina on I-40. So we're telling folks in Tennessee that they should use I-81 north and then take that to I-26 east and access North Carolina that way. Wide loads, much like it was during Hurricane Helene, before we got I-40 open on both sides of the state line, we're telling those wide loads to use I-81 north to I-77 south into Virginia and then back into North Carolina that way. So it does add some time, obviously, to folks that are trying to get to and from their vacation spots, just to and from their normal daily activities. But the most important thing is here that those interstates will keep them safe, because it's just not safe to travel between I-40, between Tennessee and North Carolina on I-40 right now, which is why we have it shut down.
That makes total sense, and hopefully people will heed that advice to make sure that everyone stays safe in that area, especially the workers and the law enforcement that obviously is helping in this endeavor. I guess my last thing would be, I spoke about the commerce, right, and how the economic impact, and you guys have really lessened that by trying to get a lane in each direction in both states. Talk about that work and really how you guys work together with the North Carolina DOT, because, like I said, I've been through that stretch. There's so much going on day to day. So what does that look like for folks that aren't there just behind the scenes?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that pictures and really do it justice what has happened to I-40 in Tennessee and North Carolina. And as bad as it is on our side of the state line, the amount of earth that was washed away on September 27th of 2024, North Carolina has it pretty bad as well. So this, unfortunately, is not the type of thing that can be a quick rebuild to have 2 lanes open in each direction on both sides of the state line. This is a long-term reconstruction project for both the Tennessee Department of Transportation as well as the NCDOT. We talk with them. We work with them all the time in trying to find the best ways to keep that traffic flowing, both for your normal everyday travelers and as well as all the commercial traffic that has to go through this area. So, we understand that, having that detour, while it is safer, it does add a lot of time. It can delay things. But again, the most important thing is to try to keep everybody safe here. And that's what we are dedicated to do.
Absolutely. I don't want to keep you too long on this holiday. I know you're working and on the stream for us, so we appreciate your time. But Mark, last thing I wanted to ask, did I miss anything? Anything that you wanted to elaborate on, tell folks about here in the Charlotte area? As I said, so many people go up to Gatlinburg and then go up to Knoxville as well and try to use I-40. So any other things that you just wanted to make note of?
I would tell folks that you should always adhere to all message boards that are on these roadways. And if you have any questions about what's going on in the Tennessee side of the state line, go to smartway.tn.gov. It gives real-time information as to what's happening on our interstates and state routes. So if there are crashes, if there are backups, roadways that are closed, obviously like I-40 at the state line, we have our traffic cameras on there as well. It's a terrific resource for folks to use. You should definitely check it out before you get behind the wheel, but obviously don't use that resource when you are driving. Make sure that you're keeping your phone hands-free.
Absolutely. Make sure that everyone is safe out there. Mark, thank you, and thank the Tennessee DOT leaders out there who are doing all the work, especially in this heat. We're thinking of you guys, and I hope you can get some relief for the next couple of days. But again, thanks for the work and the time tonight, my friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And that was Colin Mayfield speaking with one of the officials for TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation, regarding that rock slide. So I brought it up earlier, the press conference that happened right before that interview took place. Officials there were emotional. You can understand because I-40, that stretch of I-40 on the border, got hit hard by Hurricane Helene, and there's still recovery efforts taking place. You have this rock slide that takes place earlier this week. It's a big setback, but
For a major thoroughfare there. Like, it's a major road in that area.
And very confusing for drivers, too. It's nobody's fault. It's just Mother Nature. But it's confusing for drivers and travelers.
They just, like, started driving on it again. And now
And it again, it's a big setback for crews there. So we got a chance to hear from crews. We want to take you there now to that press conference. Let's listen in.
We have engaged them to help us. So we have Blaylock, Allen, thank you for being with us today. We have Jones Brothers that has also been participating and helping us. And so we're going to respond. We're going to respond as quickly as possible to get this back open. We know how important it is to this region, to our economy here, and we're going to continue to get this work every day till we get this open as quickly as possible. Will?
Yeah, Will Reed, Chief Engineer, TDOT. As the Commissioner mentioned, give you a little recap of what TDOT's role has been in this in the last 24 hours. So yesterday afternoon, we've got, according to the National Weather Service, approximately 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain in a 2-hour period. Once that rain subsided, our TDOT assets quickly went into recovery mode along with THP as well as Cott County's emergency management forces, and frankly our contractors that were on site. I want to thank them too. They were a big part of helping us recover, get folks to safety right off the bat. So once we were able to do that, we quickly went into cleanup mode. The contractors that were on site began cleaning up mud and debris where they could. We also had to divert the water that was continuing to pool onto the interstate and become a problem. So now that we have gotten those initial stages out of the way, we went to work late last night, early this morning with our TDOT staff assessing the damage. As the Commissioner mentioned, we've got 4 slide sites, this one behind me being the major one that are having to be assessed. One of the things we're looking at is the stability of the geology here. You can see behind me that a lot of the what we call overburden, the dirt that was on top of the rock here has slid off the side of the mountain. We've got to get that cleaned up and then assess the rock underneath as well as the county road that's above that. So we're going to continue to do that throughout today. I can tell you at this point that what we feel like is we have a goal of getting the interstate reopened in the next 2 weeks. However, we have a significant amount of work to do down here at the interchange at 451. We think that's going to take a little bit longer, but we'll be able to give you more information on that as it becomes available. But right now, we have put Charles Blaylock and Sons to work as of 6:30 this a.m. cleaning up the site, so work is actively going on. We've had anywhere from 20 to 30 TDOT employees on site this entire time. Also have over 35 members or 35 contractors that are here helping. So we are, as I said, estimating 2 weeks. I want to encourage everybody. We're going to use the same detour routes that we used during Helene. Those will be posted on our website, so I want to direct everybody to those. And as more information becomes available about the status of repairs, we'll provide that via our website. I also want to thank, again, the local elected officials as well as our state partners. One of the reasons we're able to respond so quickly is the sound fiscal management of the state of Tennessee. Them passing the TMA a few years ago, we got cash in the bank, which allows us to respond very quickly, so I want to thank them. Also want to thank my counterparts in North Carolina. NCDOT was a big part of helping us retrieve vehicles as well as manage traffic on this corridor. We'll continue to work with them as we go forward, managing detour routes, and we'll have more information about the repairs as they become available.
Before we take questions, I want to offer opportunity for senators to go ahead.
You know, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And each time he keeps coming up swinging. And we're proud of him for that. When you look at what happened here over the past few months, you know, already the whitewater rafting is back. If you go downtown Newport, you know, it's opened back up again. So we're really fighting to keep everything going. If you're trying to come from North Carolina into Tennessee, you can always take Highway 2570 coming out of Hot Springs and Nashville that way. So thank you.
Senator, we'll go first, Representative Clayton.
So what I hope the listeners know is that you can still come and raft. There's still rafting right here in Hartford, Tennessee. We want you to come. There's a great little restaurant called the Bean Trees, and even though we're down, we're not out. We will rebuild. We'll continue to rebuild. I'm talking with TDOT. They're not stopping all the other stuff that's going on right here. You can see this place has been devastated. All that work is going to continue as this work is going to continue. And the other thing I'd like to say is
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there, you're watching a press conference from TDOT officials. Tennessee Department of Transportation held a press conference giving us an update yesterday afternoon on the closure of a portion of I-40 right there at the border of North Carolina and Tennessee after a rock slide there. Again, tough situation for those folks, but I can say this. In my years covering North Carolina, the people there are resilient.
Yeah.
So they already have a plan in action. They were given updates yesterday. As soon as we get additional updates, we'll be sure to bring it to you here on WCNC Plus and also on the TV side of things on WCNC Charlotte and on our website, WCNC.com. All right, so let's come back home. Let's come back home because it's a big weekend. Big weekend in the town of Pineville. For the first time ever, the town of Pineville is hosting a pride event. And locals tell us this has been, like years in the making. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King is live in Pineville. So, Anna, obviously this is a big deal for that community.
Deal here, Nick, because just last year, town officials voted no to the request for an event like this. And they told me that's because of a time constraint at the time when the request was put in. But this year, with adequate time, they were able to approve things. And this event is expected to happen right here on the town hall grounds. And with the record of first, this is also the first event being held here. Now, city officials told me today they're expecting hundreds of people to come out. There will also be a parade, vendors, and a silent disco. That's already sold out. Now, this event here is expected to start around 7 and end around 10 p.m. Nick.
That's Anna King there in the town of Pineville. A big weekend ahead. Festivities there kick off tomorrow. Anna, thank you for your time. We'll check back in with you a little bit later during our afternoon and evening newscasts. Yeah, a big event.
Event.
Look, and as Brittany mentioned earlier, make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you have the sunscreen on. Make sure you do all the things to stay safe. It's going to be hot out there
It's
this
going to be
weekend.
hot. If you're going to Pride, if you're going to soccer this weekend, if you're going to the Knights, if you're going to anything.
Make sure I get it right. I always mess up the name. I always want to say FIFA World Cup, but it's
FIFA
FIFA Club World Cup. This weekend.
That's right.
It's a great segue because it kicks off this weekend. And I know we can mention in the heat. It's because a lot of you guys are going to be outside having a great time between the Pineville event, the Pride event, between FIFA Club World Cup this weekend.
You're running.
I have a race this weekend. So, look, a lot is happening. But there is some uncertainty regarding the FIFA Club World Cup games, uncertainty over the presence of ice. Now, you've heard about it across the country and concerns regarding ice, but there are concerns about ICE's presence at the games. Now, there were deleted federal social media posts about security role that raised some questions ahead of this weekend's matches at Bank of America Stadium. Our Miles Harris spoke with nonprofit leaders, state representative Jordan Lopez regarding it, social media influencer and big fan of the games about it. So I want you to listen in to his extended interviews with all three.
You just mentioned it, though. We got some big soccer games coming to Charlotte this weekend.
We do.
A lot of but now there's that question on what those security look like here. There's a mention of ICE coming to town and helping out with the security measures. Your first reaction to kind of hearing that?
You know, I'm so excited about the World Cup, and that's a big deal for Charlotte. I mean, that's going to help our economy in a great way, and I think it's part of this trajectory that Charlotte's on. And but then in light of that, it's kind of raining on the parade in a sense. It's to me, the bullying, this threatening is so just not, it's not diplomatic, it doesn't represent us well. And so, you know, I'm very saddened by what I see, how we're dealing with immigration right now in a general sense, and I'm hoping that this isn't going to hurt the economy of Charlotte, which affects all of us, right? Just as a tactic to scare people.
And that leads into my next question, though, too, because you're actually, I mean, we're thinking about that, though, too. I mean, what do you think that could hold for the reputation of Charlotte on making sure that this kind of stays in the good standing of how this really should look? So
yeah, you know, I think again, it's Charlotte. I'm proud to be part of Charlotte. Charlotte does a good job staying out of the news, right? Our mayor, our local government, we've always done a good job, and we keep things business. And I think a threat like this is not just a threat to the people who may be here that are undocumented. I feel like it's a threat to all of Charlotte's reputation. Again, people get confused sometimes and they think Charlotte is a sanctuary city. It's not, but it is a welcoming city. And I think they've done a great job embracing all the people that are here in our community. And so again, it's unfortunate that, you know, higher ups can come and try to create this sense of fear in our community. I don't like that, and hope it doesn't happen. I hope it's just they mistweeted or accidentally wrote something and it was taken down.
For anybody that comes to Charlotte or had plans to come to Charlotte as far as being a part of this operation, as far as the games and the matches, things of that nature, what do you want them to know, like about why this is a best place?
Oh, Charlotte is the place to be. I mean, we got great restaurants, not the traffic that you had of a lot of other big cities, great hotels. It's from other parts of the country. You got to experience the deep South hospitality and the culture. People are kind to each other. You know, you don't hear all the honking. You know, it's a great city, very organized, structured, low crime, and it's a great place to come. And the World Cup's going to be awesome.
Now, I asked you this, so one of my last questions that I have is, like, this obviously is being centered around a specific soccer match, World Cup soccer. And I don't want to say that this feels like it could be targeted, but, like, do you see that this could be a possibility for a normalcy where we got football coming around the corner? Could this be more of that situation, too, where we see more of this, or at least that conversation as well?
Yeah. Well, I've dedicated my life for 30 years now working with the Latino community in Charlotte. And so my perspective on the broader narrative is that we've conflated immigration to Latino, illegal to violent criminal, rapist, murderous, which then it gets all put together. And so Latinos have this narrative about their personhood, about who they are, that they're criminals, violent criminals. And I think conversations like these, or these types of tweets and threats, go to reinforce that in the minds of people who may not have the same privilege I do of being around wonderful people. the the vast majority, we have 60 million U.S. citizens that are Latinos in the U.S. And now every one of them feel this same stigma that is happening with the broader narrative. And again, I do think that I'm hopeful, and we pray and advocate to see some positive change in what's happening now. And again, I think, you know, we were talking, I am for law and order. I am for the police. They serve us well. I've been pulled over sometimes, and I was speeding, and the police officer was professional. He had all the authority, and I had to just say, you, I was wrong. I've been pulled over other times. It was like I was being bullied. And right now, it just so much feels like immigration is being bullies. They don't have to do that. They have all the authority. Anybody, and I've worked with undocumented immigrants for years, nobody's come to this country crossing a border without permission, not knowing there's risk involved, right? And so there's not this cry for justice. There's a cry for, hey, look, we're good people, we're working hard, make a way for us. And so again, I would just love to see our immigration officials have a little bit more dignity, right? They can still carry out their job, but they don't have to do things like this to threaten. Like, I pastor a church, you know, and it came out, hey, we'll come into your church. Why do they have to say that, right? It sends fear throughout all the community. And so again, I think it's a misfortunate tweet. My hope and prayer is that it was a mistake, that they didn't really mean it, and that they won't be targeting. And I always tell everybody, though, if you're on the other side of it, fear and faith look a lot alike. They both ask you to believe something that hasn't happened yet. And so fear will paralyze you. But faith will say, hey, I'm going to keep doing my best, living my life, and trust everything's going to be okay. Don't live under the shadows of threats. Let's live in reality and do our very best.
Representative Jordan, we are talking about this actual recent social media post. I don't know if you're aware of it, that came from ICE when talking about these FIFA Club World Soccer Cup matches that are obviously going around the country, but there obviously are some coming to Charlotte. So when you hear the idea that there could be some ICE layers of security for these matches happening in Charlotte, man, what is your first reaction to that, first half?
My first reaction is apprehension. You know, it's not out of the ordinary for federal agencies to be a part of security for large events, thinking the Super Bowl, for example, where they literally close the airspace, for example. That's the FAA being involved, and the different entities that are on the ground. But in this climate today, where we have ICE arresting citizens, in some cases detaining citizens while they try to verify their status, or kind of just at will detaining people with very little due process, it gives me a lot of concern about the attendees who largely will be coming from a variety of countries around the world. Soccer is an internationally renowned sport, and I'm excited for it to be coming to the Queen City. But under the context of this administration, it does give me pause, because I wonder what are their thoughts as they see what's unfolding in the United States right now. Are they willing to travel to the United States? Do they want to take the risk of having an encounter with ICE agents while you're here to enjoy the sport that you love? So it definitely has given me a lot of apprehension.
I was going to say that you literally just took two questions away from me, as far as, you know, whether or not you think this is really a hurdle, or I mean, I guess on our side of this, just for the conversation, do you see this as an added layer of security, or do you feel like this is something more, something else?
I see this as something more. I use the Super Bowl as an example, where I can't think of, granted, I'm not involved in the planning, especially from the federal level of the security around events like that, but I would like to think that, and we just don't have this information publicly, that ICE isn't typically involved in security enforcement of events like that. So when we have events that are bringing in, and that we know we're going to bring in an international crowd, that doesn't seem ordinary, and it does make me think, like what is going on there? What kind of a chilling effect really could that have on attendance, for example, enthusiasm, and the overall impact that it could have on the Queen City? It makes me curious, will we see that actually come to fruition to the fullest extent, because of the way the world is seeing ICE go after really everybody that they deem suspicious?
And with that, though, as well, I want to ask you, though, too, I mean, is this something that you guys have had conversations about as far as these operations and these changes taking place? I mean, I know we're talking about it now, but is this like the tip of the iceberg moving forward? Is this something that could be seen as a more of a normalcy for our future when it comes to these major sporting events, especially those that obviously include our diverse communities here?
So I will start by saying I haven't been personally having conversations about it, especially around the context of them enforcing security at sporting events or large events in the first place. But the conversations that I've been having have been based in the community that I represent, East Charlotte, one of the most diverse communities, not only in the county, but across the state. People are scared. And that has a real effect on the way people interact with our communities, interact with law enforcement, interact with each other. And that's where I've been focusing my attention on, is ensuring people know that they have the support of their state representative. I don't believe it is the job of the state government to be enforcing the federal government's rules and regulations around immigration. I believe the federal government needs to be stepping up to actually develop a more efficient system on processing immigration in the first place, as opposed to just scapegoating, which is, I think, in my opinion, the entire goal of this administration right now, is to create this narrative, this divide and conquer tactic that they have been employing. So that has been the focus of my conversations, not so much sporting events going forward. I hope not, because as we've seen, and as I said, people are scared. People are worried that ICE is going too far. And if that becomes a regular part of how we're enforcing security at these events, then do people continue to go out and enjoy events? Does the diverse community that we have in Charlotte go to our Carolina Panther games at Bank of America, or will they go to the, why am I all of a sudden blanking on our football teams, our soccer team's name, excuse me, but
Charlotte FC, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Do we still have that participation at these events if they're worried that ICE is going to be enforcing security measures at in every instance of regular life?
You've answered every question that I've had. Is there anything else that you wanted to add on this?
I mean, I just think it should give people pause. And I think that the federal government should take a second to think on the best way to go about this, if there is a best way to go about having ICE enforce security measures at these events, when the world is watching. Just this week, the world watched as a sitting elected official in New York City, who is running to be mayor of New York City, was arrested while escorting somebody through an immigration court proceeding. Like, the world sees that. A United States senator was arrested at a press conference for asking a question of the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. The world sees that. And if you think that they are going to see that and then think, oh, we're going to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to travel to the United States for the potential of engaging or interacting, having these negative interactions at that with ICE enforcement, are they going to come? What does that say about who we are? What is that picture that we're painting for the world? Are we as welcoming as we want to be, as I believe we want to be, and as I believe we should be? I don't know. And I would seriously ask the federal government to reconsider the actions that they're taking currently, but then especially putting out tweets on social media by way of that's how we're going to communicate policy now. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's the way we should be conducting business or conducive for creating the environment needed around the World Cup.
So obviously you're pretty well connected with the soccer community. You follow a lot of soccer in this area. You know that FIFA Club World Cup soccer is coming to Charlotte this weekend, but there are also now speculations that ICE might be part of that security measure. When you hear that, what's kind of the first thought that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, man, mixed emotions, because on one hand, you have one of the biggest tournaments in the world with some of the biggest teams coming to Charlotte, right? Real Madrid is a huge team. I think somewhere I read that they have close to 1 billion followers, which is insane, and so around the world. And so on the other side, there's what's going on right now in our country, which is very difficult. And so I have mixed emotions about it because it's tough. Soccer is very embedded into the Latin community, and it's tough because there's people that want to see, their team play, but they have to be careful. And, based on what's going on in our country right now, it's, if you're undocumented, it's very difficult to want to show up to a game like that. I actually just experienced that when I went to the Mexico game in Cary. There was like 25,000 fans, and typically Mexico is bringing minimum 40, because of the same thing.
Wow, that's actually really interesting to know. And so another piece of that, though, too, is when when it comes to this, like you said, magnitude of a match, these matches, I mean, you got people coming in from all over the place. So hearing that ICE might be part of the security measure, is there a possibility, or do you think that there could be some of a hesitation, I guess, for people to come in now with that?
100%. I think there is going to be hesitation. I think people are going to shy away from going to that game, because you also have to think about it. It may not just be, you may be a citizen here, but maybe a best friend of yours might not be. Maybe your mother, maybe your uncle, somebody that's attached to you that you were planning on going to that game with may not want to go anymore. That sways you as well from going to the game. So I think it 100% will be affected.
One last questions, or I guess two parts, but do you plan on going to any of these games this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I'll be there. I'll be at all the games, Real Madrid, Pachuca, and also Bayern Benfica coming up. Because, growing up, these opportunities, in Charlotte, we're not truly here. And just seeing the soccer culture continue to change and become more embedded in the Charlotte community is something that I really love.
Is there anything else that you want to add, man?
No, I would just say, just again, the magnitude of having a competition here with a team like Real Madrid is phenomenal. I would never thought in my wildest dreams that we would see kind of the tournaments and some of the stuff that's been going on here in Charlotte. And just again, Charlotte's becoming a soccer city, which, we have a lot of different sports here, but it's good to see one of our teams at least doing semi-well.
And that was a few of the interviews Miles Harris, or WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris, did when it came to ICE concerns regarding the FIFA Club World Cup games. Again, look, it kicks off this weekend at Bank of America Stadium. A lot of folks are going to be out there. A lot of folks are looking forward to having a great time. J. Monroe, my partner in crime.
Yup.
She got a chance to get a good interview.
She did.
Talking about the preparations for FIFA Club World Cup, again, that kicks off this weekend. Let's take you there to the interview right now.
Soccer fans in the Charlotte area have something very exciting to look forward to as well. The FIFA Club World Cup is coming to the U.S. for the first time ever. Charlotte, just one of 11 cities selected to host a match. That tournament is going to kick off June 14th, and really, we're looking at teams including Manchester City, Real Madrid, Inter Miami. So joining us now is Jill Ellis, FIFA's Chief Football Officer. It is a big title. Football Officer, the only coach to win back-to-back FIFA Women's World Cups. Jill, thanks for joining us this morning. A pleasure and honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. That is a mouthful, I will tell you.
Yeah.
Chief Football Officer, yeah.
Coach, you're joining us from Switzerland, is that right?
I am, yes, in Zurich. It's afternoon here, but heading to Miami soon for the game next week.
All right. What is it like to be for Charlotte? Tell us, how big of an impact this is for this inaugural tournament.
Well, I think it's obviously, like you said, it's the first time there's ever been a Club World Cup, and I think for Charlotte to host one of these matches, I think speaks a lot. I was actually there with the president. I think it was a couple of months ago now. I think we ended up pulling some beers downtown. But I think Charlotte established itself. Obviously it's a major sports there, but it's also very much now a soccer town. And with the MLS club being there, the fan base, the youth, I know, they have a women's professional team there now. So I think it just made total sense for there to be a major tournament, major world tournament come to Charlotte. And it's beautiful because it allows obviously fans from around the world to come and experience Charlotte just in terms of a tourism type place, but it also allows, with this thing being shown around the world, it allows people to obviously see Charlotte around the world, New Zealand, Asia. There's going to be people from all over the world tuning in for this tournament. So exciting. The tournament itself, but just for Charlotte, it's got some of the biggest matches, like you said. It's got Real Madrid, it's got these massive clubs coming there, it's got Bayern with some of the best stars. So I think all in, it's going to be a real soccer showcase.
Yeah, Coach, for viewers who might be casual soccer fans, who are some of the teams and stars that people might want to look to?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of globally, and maybe just to put this in perspective, when you have a World Cup, you have now 48 nations represented. There's I want to say there's 80 plus countries represented on these rosters. So it truly is a global tournament. But you have, an iconic club like Boca Juniors out of Argentina. You've got PSG, which is the current Champions League winner. They just won that trophy last week. In Charlotte, you've got Bayern Munich coming with, they just won their domestic league, the German league. You have Real Madrid. So it's almost a galaxy of stars. As you mentioned, I think you said Man City, you've got Chelsea. So it really is representative of every club. But the unique thing about this is, for years, and I've been in this sport a long time, you've got clubs that say, we're the best club in the world. Or you have leagues that say, we're the most competitive, we're the best league in the world. But this is now a tournament that actually allows that to play out in terms of, a competitive format that pits the best clubs, the best leagues against each other. So it's, I'd say it's been a long time coming, but I know us in the sport are really excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of a lot of experience in the sport, you coach two back-to-back women's national team to World Cup victories. What can you tell us about the atmosphere that fans can expect? And, I mean, it's going to be, I would imagine, totally pumped.
It is. I mean, and I've been to obviously a lot of different sporting events, not just soccer. Soccer games, I mean, it's very much a festival in terms of fans singing. I mean, fans will sing nonstop, and there'll be flags and they'll be cheering, and it really has kind of an energy to it. But when you suddenly take the passion of fans and now you have a competition that you're actually competing for a world championship. I mean, it's very rare that players get that title, right, in terms of world champion, and it truly be global. So I think you're going to have players that come into this. They want to win the first iteration of this. Yes, there's a lot of prize money, but you add the fan base to what's at stake. I think it's going to be a really competitive, compelling, can't miss kind of atmosphere and can't miss kind of match. So it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, I think the hardcore fans are for sure going to show up, meaning, people that know about the sport. I mean, Charlotte FC, they got some really passionate fans. But this is a chance for the curious and the new fans to come and really see what this sport is all about by watching the very, very best compete.
As FIFA's chief football officer, football for soccer, for those of us who are more familiar with soccer, you really are helping shape the future of the sport. How does the Club World Cup fit into FIFA's broader vision?
I think the underpinning of this is access and opportunity for people to play the game and watch the game. So now you take a Club World Cup format. So immediately what I would say to you is, now there's a Club World Cup for men. There's also one now created for women. So what it does, especially for on the women's side, is you create a competition, and now it incentivizes people to invest in women's sport, or to create a league, or to create a club to be in there. When you have something to play for, it incentivizes growth and investment. So, for me at this point, in my career, obviously I spent 35 years on the sideline. To have a chance to really create something, that will continue to either have a little girl or boy go out and pick up a soccer ball and go out in the backyard and dribble it. There's that inspirational section part of it, but more importantly, it especially in the U.S., it brings a greater spotlight on this sport, which is, it's not a fledgling sport anymore in the U.S. It's very much established. It's very much here, but it continues to, I think, create opportunity for fans to see it, for players to be inspired to want to go and play, and create heroes, which I think is ultimately what sport is about.
I mean, and really playing at that highest and coaching at that highest level. Jill, your message to young soccer players who might be watching from the sidelines or at home, or able to go to Bank of America Stadium later on this month. What is the inspiration? What's your message to them to keep playing?
Yeah, listen, a couple mean, I've worked with some amazing players, and I think at one point I said to 4 or 5 of my top players, I said, if there was one thing that got you to where you were, that wasn't just your soccer skill, what was it? And a lot of those players came back with something in their top 2. It was self-belief. So my message to players is, the journey, it's much like life, right? It's up and down, and sometimes you're playing and you're starting, and sometimes you're on the bench, and sometimes you get cut. The reality is find your passion. If it makes you happy, stick with it, and know it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, because what I also know is sport brings people together. It teaches us a lot more than just about wins and losses, and I think it's so what I would say to the young fan is, for sure, go watch, learn, take it all in, observe, but find your passion, and if that's soccer, find an environment that's going to continue to help you grow.
Coach Jill Ellis, thank you for joining us. Now FIFA's chief football officer. Safe travels to Miami. We wish you well. Say hi to Lionel for us. Lionel Messi, of course.
I will.
All right, very good.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And Carlene and I were just talking about it. Like, depending on what side you sit on for at Bank of America Stadium, either you're in the shade
or you're roasting
like potatoes.
That's right.
And you're gonna be sweating, and it's gonna be hot.
It's gonna be hot.
It's gonna be hot.
Drink water. Wear sunscreen.
Wear sunscreen. And if you're
reapply.
If you're like me, so in the summertime it gets hot. Obviously, it's gonna be really hot this weekend going into the week. I crank the AC low.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come home, it's like a frozen tundra.
Yeah.
I also get my bill.
Then the bill comes along.
And I start reevaluating things.
Yeah.
I say all that to say, because I want to bring in live here on Live Impact News, Caroline Fountain with Duke Energy. She heard what I said. She started laughing. Look, you guys you guys do fantastic work, especially the crews out there in the field. But how can folks, and you're talking about saving money and saving energy, we'll start here. I talked about my bill. You don't want to see that. How can folks save some money when it comes to this heat and when it comes to using that AC properly?
Well, for sure. Well, today is a perfect day to talk about it. It's the first day of summer. And just like you said, we are going to be seeing some high temperatures heading our way very soon, this weekend into next week. And so essentially, this is the time, right, in order to take advantage of a couple of quick and easy tips that actually people can do right now as they're watching. So the number one that we recommend is turning your thermostat to the highest comfortable setting. So the tundra, I'm not sure about that, but setting that to the highest comfortable temperature for your own family, right? And then second, really using those ceiling fans. That's actually going to make it feel up to 4 degrees cooler. So you'll be able to kind of play and adjust with your thermostat there. And then, also for me, I don't have any trees around my home. So closing those blinds, closing those curtains will really help keep the cool air in and the hot air out, especially as the sun is beating down in the afternoon sun.
As you were saying that, I can control it through an app on my phone. I just bumped up. It was on 68.
Yeah, tell us. What do you have it at?
It was on 68. And so I bumped it up to about 72. I just want to, before I get to my next question, is that good?
Well, it's really up to your own family's personal comfort settings. However, I love that you just mentioned that you're using that through your app. You've obviously got a smart thermostat, and that's a real huge benefit for folks. I'll just do a quick plug here for the things that I have here next to me. So any Duke Energy, customer who's a homeowner, you can get a free home energy assessment. So an energy advisor can come to your home and, see what opportunities you have in your particular home to save energy, which translates into savings on your bill. And then you'll also get this free kit, which is great. You got caulking, you got weather stripping, you got, this charging thing. You got a couple of great ways to save on, energy efficient water use. And so, with that, if you are interested in a smart thermostat, they will actually install that free of charge for you during the assessment. So it's a great way, like you said, when you're away from home, just crank it up a couple degrees. And then, on your way home, you can turn it back down, and then it's comfortable from when you're home.
Some great advice there. So we talk about saving money. That's important. But why is it important to save energy?
Yeah, well, you pay for what you use, right? And so when you're using more energy, especially during the summer, you got to think, even if you're keeping your settings to the same degree, well, guess what? The hotter it gets outside, the harder your AC unit is going to be working. And so if you want to be having larger savings on your bill, that translates into saving more energy at home. And that can be, caulking your windows. It can be using, weather stripping for your doors. If you see a little bit of light through your door, well, guess what? You probably need a little bit of weather stripping there. Like I said, closing those blinds, using those ceiling fans.
It's Caroline Fountain with Duke Energy. Caroline, can you talk about some of the financial assistance programs? Because there are some folks that they're struggling to pay their bills.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different ways that we can help customers in need. So one, you can sign up for a payment installment plan. So that's, something you can do. Also, we partner with community agencies. So for, low income home energy assistance program, so you can apply for assistance through that. We have Duke Energy's Share the Light Fund you can apply for as well. And actually, we have a brand new tool that went live this month on our website under the Special Assistance tab, where you can actually look up your local agency by just your zip code. And those are agencies that have recently partnered with us in order to help those customers in need. So great new tool to check out.
One more question before I let you go, so you can enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend. What is it like for crews out in the field who work in the heat, but they're also making sure folks are comfortable at home?
For sure. So as you can imagine, safety is our number one priority. So making sure that our crews are properly prepared as they head out into the field, plenty of water, taking plenty of breaks. But we also know that it's, a priority to get electricity reliably to our customers. So it's really, making that service as well as keeping our crews safe.
Well, again, we've talked to you plenty of times here at WCNC Charlotte. You guys do amazing work. Thank you for what you guys are doing out there. Thank you to the crews. Caroline Fountain with Duke Energy, thank you for your time on this Friday.
Yeah, and have a great weekend.
You too. All right, that's Duke Energy talking about saving money, saving energy. Look, I got inspired, and so I cranked up the temperature in my apartment, so I could do both. And so there's some helpful tips there for folks who are looking to do both, save energy and save a few bucks. There's nothing wrong with saving a few bucks. There's nothing wrong with saving energy as well. All right, so we talk about the weather. I'm no meteorologist.
We can't stop talking about the weather.
We can't stop talking about the weather. It is the big thing.
Yeah.
And so, look, let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm, who has a look at our forecast.
Well, good Friday afternoon. Meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, do we have an absolutely gorgeous weekend ahead, but it is going to be very hot at times. We'll start with today. We'll take a look ahead at what you need to be ready for, plus next week. Now, if you have any plans for your Friday, it's going to be beautiful. We're talking about temperatures that are right around where we should be for this time of the year. Tomorrow for your Saturday, if you want to beat the heat, you need to wake up early, get those errands done. If you want to work out in the yard, you got to get that done early as well, because we're cranking up the heat, not just the heat, but the humidity as well. And dangerous heat really starts to move back into our area by next time. It's going to feel between 105 to 110 degrees. So today we're going to see our temperatures mainly rise into the upper 80s, low 90-degree temperatures. That's about where we should be for a day like today. Nice mix of sun and clouds as we head towards the later part of our afternoon, but it's not just our daytime highs that I'm really keeping a close eye on, but even our overnight lows are struggling to cool, so we're not getting a lot of that overnight relief. You can see as we're looking up towards the mountains, this is where it's actually comfortable. mid to upper 70s, some low 80-degree temperatures. Not only do we have cooler temperatures, but also, of course, less humidity. A great place to be this weekend if you don't like the heat and humidity. Out towards Lenore and Morganton, look at that, sunny skies all afternoon, and yes, we're cranking up the heat. Plan for those mid to upper 80s, and then right around the Charlotte metro area, little hotter, 90 degrees in Charlotte today, 90 for Gastonia, and about 92 for Lincolnton. Might be a great afternoon to take those kids to the pool, or even just turn on the sprinkler, let them go outside and play. Just find a nice way for everyone to stay cool, especially if you're somebody who does not have air conditioning. The next few days are going to get a bit brutal. As we're looking at Rock Hill, about 90 degrees for your forecasted high, and over the next 3 days, we're 90 today, even hotter for Saturday, and Sunday, a high temperature of 95 degrees. But here's the catch. Now, the humidity today is actually going to be just okay. Once we head into the next few days, you'll notice an increase in that humidity, but really an increase in those temperatures. We are riding this roller coaster up. Look at this, 97 on Monday. Tuesday, a high of 99 degrees, multiple days in a row into the 90s. So a dangerous stretch of very warm temperatures. No rain showers over the next several days. We really won't have our next best opportunity until the middle of next week. Humidity today, it's going to be all right. Not the worst we've ever seen. You'll notice an increase in humidity, though, this upcoming weekend. So if you want to go out to the farmer's market, do it early in the day, because as we head into the afternoon, yeah, those temperatures increase, but so will that humidity. If you're heading out to the lake this weekend, that'd be a great place to be. No severe storms in the forecast, no storms in the forecast at all. But look at this. This is Saturday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what it's going to feel like. Mainly into the mid-90s for most of us. Sunday, heat index values reaching upper 90s and low 100s. Unfortunately, it gets worse. By Monday, if you work outside in the elements, this is what it's going to feel like. 101 for Rock Hill, 103 for Wadesboro. Tuesday seems to be the absolute worst, where we could see some of those heat index values rising to 107 east of Charlotte, some areas up to around 110 degrees. So if you do know somebody without air conditioning, make sure you loop them in, make sure they are aware of what's coming ahead, because while it is going to be sunny and beautiful, that heat and humidity can really get quite dangerous if you're not prepared for it. Today, a high of 90 degrees, plenty of sunshine, lots of beautiful weather as we're heading into our weekend. 95 again on Sunday, but notice those overnight lows. I mean, we're only dropping down into the low to mid 70s, so not cooling down a whole lot. Stay close to WCNC Weather Team. We'll keep you up to date. Have a great weekend.
All right, so today is comfortable-ish. Comfortable-ish.
It's a pick.
It's a pick. It is a Nick pick.
It's a Nick pick.
It's a Nick pick. Look, I'm still a little nervous about the race tomorrow. I have the 8K in Uptown tomorrow.
I got a weenie dog meetup tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. It's at a dog park.
I'll be long gone for my 8K.
It's at the dog park, so it's not on like cement or anything like that.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be a hot day for the hot dogs.
It's gonna be hot. You get this weekend out the way, because it's up from here.
Get warmer.
And happy first day of summer. Today is the first official day of summer, so there you go. All right, let's talk a little sports, because in between these interviews and other things have been happening, Jeb and I, who's here, Jeb Goldman, super producer, we've been having some Charlotte Hornets basketball talk, breaking down past drafts. I've been schooling the kid about Charlotte Hornet Bobcat history. If you know, you know. The Charlotte Hornets used to be the Bobcats before they were the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah.
Long story, if you don't know. All right, so Charlotte Hornets, they have a top pick in the draft. Not the very top pick, but they're in the top 5. Number 4, I always mess it up. Number 4 in the draft, right, Jeff? Number 4. So there's some questions. I have my opinions on who the Hornets are going to pick. I had some suggestions. But before we get to that, let's listen in to ESPN's Paul Biancardi, who spoke with our own Nick Carboni about the Hornets' options heading into the draft. Let's take a listen into that interview.
WCNC Charlotte Sports Director Nick Carboni here in our live Impact News studio. We are talking NBA draft as I sit here today. Round 1 is just 6 days away. Hornets with the number 4 overall pick, and we are going to be talking draft all the way leading up to the big night on our WCNC Draft Night special. You can watch that live Wednesday night here at 7 o'clock on WCNC Plus. So we've been trying to talk to guests that, maybe pay attention to college basketball, maybe pay attention to what the Hornets are doing. How about one that's all of the above and then some? I want to welcome in my good friend Paul Biancardi, recruiting director for ESPN. He's also a college basketball and NBA draft analyst and puts together the ESPN Top 100. So he is all over these kids from when they are in high school all the way leading up to the draft. So, Paul, first of all, thank you for joining me. Secondly, what is it like to follow these kids from when they're just getting started in their basketball careers all the way to draft night and you see them walk the stage?
Nick, that's a great point. I get to watch these kids, evaluate them, get to know them as people, their parents, their families, their siblings, and I feel like I'm on the journey with them. From high school to college, it's such a big decision where to go and who you're going to play for and all those great decisions they have to make. Some think about actually what major they're going to study. And then the guys that have a chance to move on to be NBA draft picks, whether it's the first round, second round, I pay attention to everyone, even guys that become free agents.
Who's the guy you're proudest of hitting on in that top 100 that went on to become, a lottery pick or an NBA All-Star? Like, who's the first guy that comes to mind?
Gosh, it's been 15 years, Nick. So it's a loaded question.
You got a high success. You got a high batting average too, but I don't know if there's one that nobody else saw coming, but Paul Biancardi.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you one guy recently that I hit on, which was Reed Sheppard. I made it known that I thought he was a McDonald's All-American, and he became a McDonald's All-American. Now, I did not know he'd be a one and done, but I did think he had the ability to be a first-round NBA draft pick. It just happened a lot faster than I even thought, and I was really high on Reed Sheppard. So that's a recent one that I can think of. But boy, there's been some misses too. Now, let's just talk about the hits. But there's been a lot of guys you think that have a great opportunity, to be something special, and for different reasons they don't make it.
Well, I don't think Cooper Flagg is going to be a miss. I mean, obviously he was your number one in his class, and classified early. Actually, you had him graded as a 97. Is there anybody you've seen like him? Like, is there who would be the closest comparison coming out of high school and then one and done and being the top pick?
Well, first of all, let me backtrack. I first watched Cooper Flagg as a rising sophomore coming in high school out of Maine. His AAU coach was Andy Bedard. Andy played for us at Boston College. So I get a phone call from Andy. He said, "Hey, coach, you've got to see this kid. He's special." I said, "Where's he from?" He goes, "He's from Maine." I said, "Did he play basketball or hockey?"
Yeah.
How good can this kid be out of Maine? He says, "I'm telling you, he's really good." And Andy played for us at 2 years. We won the Big East championship. Then Andy transferred to Maine to finish his career. So Andy had a real good idea of what a high-level basketball player should look like. When I watched Cooper Flagg on film, I was more than interested. He was about 6'6" plus. You could see the versatility and athleticism right away. It's hard to see athletic ability on film. And then shortly thereafter, I saw him play in the summer live, and I felt that at that point he could be really special when it comes to high school basketball. The ESPN Top 100, a ranked player, somebody who can go as a high major prospect. And there were a lot of holes to fill in, but not that many holes. But you could just see how special he was and where he was destined to. So Cooper Flagg, for me, is a no-bust prospect in this draft.
Yeah, you talk about filling in the holes that there were, the few that there were. Is that one of his best attributes, to take something that may not be a strength and turn it into one pretty quickly? It seems like he's done, classifying early, coming out early into college, one of the youngest players in college, and he's player of the year.
Yeah, let's not forget, he's supposed to be entering Duke right now as a freshman. He reclassified to become a freshman last year, so now he's in the draft. The elite players do that to move ahead in the draft quickly so they can get into that second contract a little bit faster. But Cooper Flagg is everything that you would want in a prospect. And you mentioned it. He gets better at everything for one simple reason. He's a worker. He dedicates himself to the game. He's pure. You know, he may be on social media, but that doesn't drive his existence. What drives his existence is playing the game, competing, and winning. And when he doesn't win, he gets frustrated very quickly. So what happens is he goes back in the gym and continues to work on things that could be just a little bit better, or something that he's really good at, he wants to be great at. He's the ultimate worker. It's his approach to the game, his mindset during the game. And Nick, it's as simple as this. He is one of the most competitive and coachable stars that I've seen in my 15 plus years at ESPN and in my 22 years coaching college basketball.
Consensus #1 all the way next Wednesday night. Don't let those clickbait headlines fool you. Is Dylan Harper the consensus?
No.
is Dylan?
No. Who's putting that out there?
They popped up. We pay no attention to that. There's no doubt Cooper Flagg's going to Dallas.
Let me just make one quick point. Everybody who does a mock draft has never been in a draft room.
All right, so we should have some fun with all the avenues we could take with this. So Dylan Harper, is he the consensus #2? I know that you had Ace Bailey with a really high grade in your top 100. Seems to be a lot going on with him in this pre-draft process. So do you think Dylan Harper is the surefire #2, whether it's the San Antonio or whether somebody else is going to go up and get him?
Yeah, I think he's the best overall basketball player after Cooper Flagg. And Cooper Flagg has productivity and potential. Same goes for Dylan Harper. When he was in high school, he was the #1 player at one time in the class of 25. So that shows you his star ability. I called him a bigger, stronger Jalen Brunson, left-handed, great frame, could take contact. He can carry defenders into the lane. He is really good, Nick, at driving kick and ball screen offense. Capable three-point shooter, excellent passer, plays with his head, eyes are wide open, looking to make the next correct play. Really good competitor, needs to grow in the game defensively. But I'll tell you this, at 17 years old, USA Basketball put him on the 19 and under team. The reason they did it, his maturity level, his decision-making, and his work habits. And let's not forget his dad, a 5-time NBA champ. I mean, this guy was born to be an NBA player.
All right, so we got to talk about Ace Bailey because the talent is very obviously there, and you have a unique perspective because you've covered, evaluated, been around these guys since earlier in their high school careers, and you're around the people that are around the players as well. There's been a lot of negativity about Ace Bailey in the pre-draft process. Where do you think that comes from, and what do you think of him as a potential NBA player?
Well, first of all, beside the evaluating and the interviews and being around the people that they are around, I had a chance to coach Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, and Ace Bailey at the Steph Curry camp. It's his private camp out in San Francisco where he only invites 15 of the top players in the country. There's a small group of coaches. I was invited into that circle, which I'm very grateful for, but I got to be on the court with those guys. And obviously I studied what Ace Bailey did at Rutgers and knew everything about him in the high school ranks. As talented as anybody in this draft, maybe more talented just in terms of pure upside than Cooper Flagg. Okay, but he doesn't have some of the intangibles just yet that some of the other players in the top half of the draft have. And I don't know why people say he's sliding, because when you look at the drafts from the past, he was projected as maybe, coming into this year, maybe what, number 2, number 3? We're talking about now, what, 5, maybe 6? I don't know if that's a slide or just a compliment to some of the other guys who've made some progression over the last couple of months. Ace Bailey, he's a 6'7", we found out at the Combine, measured, a shot maker, and that's what he does best. He's a great athlete, second best athlete in the draft, in my opinion, to VJ Edgecombe. And he can score from anywhere on the floor. He's got great versatility. and athleticism. He's today's modern small forward type. Why he's moving down a little bit, I'm not quite sure. His talent is undeniable. And, he has to pick up on some of the intangibles. I wouldn't say Ace Bailey is an everyday player just yet. Like Cooper Flagg, he's an everyday guy. Ace Bailey needs to become an everyday guy. But he is uber talented, and he'll be somewhere in the top 5 in this draft.
If the Hornets do take a swing at that massive potential for Ace Bailey, I mean, Charlotte, as you know, they're still a relatively young team. They haven't accomplished what they want and gotten to the playoffs, just a couple play-in appearances. They're still kind of seeing if somebody will emerge as that, leader on the court and off. What can the Hornets do to surround Ace Bailey and give him the tools that he needs to put that all together, as you mentioned?
Yeah, he would need a lot of attention from a, maturity standpoint, showing him the way, explaining how to be a professional, how to time management your day, how to watch film in the pre-practice, post-practice. He got a taste of that at Rutgers, but obviously with him and Dylan Harper, they didn't have enough maturity and experience around them to make the NCAA tournament. And that same measure holds true for Ace Bailey when he comes to the NBA. So if he were to be with the Hornets, Coach Lee and the staff and Jeff Peterson would have to make sure they nurture him in a way where they give him confidence, not confidence to play, but confidence that they believe in him, and he'll need reps. He is a star waiting to happen talent-wise, but he's the type of guy, I believe you can't put him down in the G League. He's not going to learn anything. He's already got the talent. He's already got the confidence in his game, but he needs to know that people have confidence in him, and he needs to be shown the way in every way as a professional. I think he would have to stay with the team and somehow find some minutes on a team, as you mentioned, Nick, relatively young, knocking on the door to be a playoff team.
All right, just to show people how much Paul Biancardi nails the top 100 every year, the same basically guys in the top 5 of your 2024 top 100 are projected to be basically top 5 picks, and Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. Trey Johnson was number 5 for you. He could go 4 to the Hornets. Do VJ Edgecombe and Con Knipple give the Hornets the mix of talent but also maturity that they might need right away from a rookie?
Well, let me say this. If Ace Bailey's on the board, I don't think there's a decision to be made.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you can't leave that talent on the board. You would have drafted the best talent that's left on the board, and I think that's the job of an NBA franchise when you're drafting this high in the lottery. And if Ace Bailey hits, some people say, and he does remind me a little bit, just backing up on him a little bit, Michael Porter Jr. type, and he could be better. So if he's on the board, I think you have to take a serious look at him. VJ Edgecombe fits, Con Knipple fits, Trey Johnson fits. A lot of guys fit, but there's a little difference in terms of talent between Ace Bailey and those guys. And I would say the next most talented player on the board is VJ Edgecombe. And he comes in as the best athlete, in my mind, vertically in this draft. Great finisher in transition, straight line driver, can be an excellent on-ball defender, and that could take a lot of pressure off of LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Somebody who's willing to guard the ball, fight over ball screens, and be a defensive presence. He averaged over 2 steals a game at Baylor. He does a little bit of everything well, and sometimes people don't talk about his shooting because he's not a shooter, but when you study his numbers and you watch his mechanics, they're both good. He shot 39% in the Big 12 from 3, 34% overall. High character guy. Really high character. Does everything in a mature, professional way. Guys would love being with him. He's a great teammate. And I think those numbers from the shooting perspective would go up. And then you get the defense, the straight line drive ability. He doesn't have to take shots from other guys, but he could be capable to score some points each game, and he gives it to you on the defensive end. Con Knipple, my mind, the best pure shooter in the draft. If you're going to throw the ball to somebody in a stationary spot and say, make this shot, I'm throwing it to Con Knipple. So he's a floor spacer. He's a great catch and shoot guy, very good passer. Those are his elite skills, shooting and passing. He can shoot on the move, but he's great off the catch, and he's somebody who brings functionality to an offense. He can move the ball, he can make the assist, and he's a guy you can throw it to, and maybe, just maybe, he'll throw it back to you because he has that kind of awareness. Probably has one of the highest IQs in this draft.
Is Edgecombe a player that, with his defensive intensity, and obviously the Hornets and Charles Lee, I think, did a lot of good work last year with this group to try to get him to lock in more on that side. Is he somebody that could both take some of that responsibility on his own as a rookie and kind of take it away from some guys, but also could it rub off on, you know, a team that's got to improve in that respect?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think, now, would he be a stopper as a rookie? No, but he would be a key defensive piece. With those steals come a lot of deflections that only maybe Baylor will chart. He covers ground well. He understands defensive concepts at an early age. He'll give you the competitiveness and the coachability and the basketball defensive IQ. And that can help stabilize the Hornets defensively. They weren't bad defensively. Some nights they were bad, but overall they were pretty average, I would say, defensively. And let's not forget, they never had their whole team all season long, so you had no idea what type of defensive or offensive team the Hornets were last year, and you don't know what they're going to be next year. But VJ Edgecombe can definitely give them something that I believe that, you know, outside of Cooper Flagg, that nobody else can give them on the defensive end.
You were obviously high on Trey Johnson coming out of high school. He's certainly in line to be a probable top 10 pick. What are your thoughts on him, the year he had at Texas, what he projects as, and, you know, if it's a possibility at 4 of, you know, Edgecombe or Bailey or Knipple, Johnson, like, does he fit that kind of top 5 profile in your mind right now?
In my mind, he does. He's the best pure scorer in the draft. And when you start to dig into the Hornets and their numbers, right, they averaged a little bit more than most of the league in terms of three-point field goal attempts, but they were 3rd worst in percentages. They were a low assist team. Okay, now why were they a low assist team? Was it the passing ability? Was it the lack of shooting ability, right? We don't know that yet because they were not a whole group last year. But I think if you look at Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, and that's who this draft pick is going to fall between, meaning that person's going to slot in between those two. Now, you still have Josh Green, Trey Mann, who is a free agent, but Trey Mann was their best three-point shooter last year, percentage-wise. I think Trey Johnson can come in, Nick, and get a bucket. He's one of those guys, you know, like an Ace Bailey, that plays with great offensive confidence. You don't have to run a play for him, and he can still score in terms of a catch-and-shoot 3. Trey Johnson has the wiggle in his dribble to get to an open spot. He's a great shot creator, but he's not afraid to do it. And when you put LaMelo Ball, who's a great passer, who can find Trey Johnson, Brandon Miller, who attracts so much defensive help, I think Trey Johnson takes a lot of pressure off of Ball and Brandon Miller. And he's certainly conceivable at the 4 pick. Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, Con Knipple could all be there, should all be there at 4. To me, it's VJ Edgecombe and Ace Bailey. Which one of those two guys is going to be the number 3 pick? And then Charlotte's going to have to make a decision after that.
Listen, if we had had this conversation last year, Paul, I would have never admittedly uttered the name Tijon Salon. I know it's a bit of a more well-known, there's a lot of more well-known commodities at the top end of this draft, but, you know, maybe the Hornets get a haul and they want to move back. Is a guy like Jack Achonis somebody you think they might be interested in? Asange or even Malawach from Duke, would those, guys be appealing to you still in the top 10?
Depends what you're getting for them, right?
You're right. Yeah.
About trading, you're at number 4 in one of the best drafts that we've had in a while. You're going to get a great asset, whether or not this prospect draft pick works out or not. You're going to get someone that down the line you could trade if you need to. I'm not moving on this pick unless they can get to number 2 for Dylan Harper.
Right.
And, what they have and what somebody else would want. So I think they're in a great spot. They just have to analyze, okay, whoever Philly takes at 3, that's basically going to leave a couple of guys on the board to choose from. You have to pick out which problem you want to solve first. And for me, the way the Hornets have played under Charles Lee with the high 3-point field goal attempts and their low 3-point field goal percentage, to me, it's somebody that can put the ball in the basket. You got Bailey, you've got Trey Johnson, you've got Con Knippel, and you have VJ Edgecombe, who's maybe not the best shooter of that group, but has huge upside. So you can't leave talent on the board. And to me, it's Bailey and Edgecombe are the most 2 talented players that could be available for the Hornets.
All right, Paul Biancardi, recruiting director from ESPN, NBA draft and college basketball analyst, ESPN Top 100. All right, man, before I let you go, who's the next Cooper Flag? Who should I be writing down for the next couple of years?
Well, let me tell you about next year's draft real quickly. If you think this year's draft is good, and it is great, you talked about the top 5 guys in this draft. They were all in the top 5 in the ESPN 100. They're all one-and-done guys, McDonald's All-Americans. Nick, next year's draft at the top, A.J. DiBonsa, who's at BYU. You got Darren Peterson at Kansas. Both of those guys are going to be near the top of the draft. They'll be fighting it out for the number 1 spot. And Cameron Boozer, the son of Carlos Boozer, is at Duke, and he's going to have a Cooper Flag-like effect at Duke. He'll be a lottery pick. And Nate Ament at Tennessee, he's a 10 forward of next year's draft, and they are as good, if not better, than the top of this draft.
Well, I hope the Hornets are not at the top. Cheers, they are. Hopefully some lottery luck in top 4. Paul Biancardi, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, Nick, thanks for having me.
All right. Again, our NBA draft special on WCNC Plus tips off 7 o'clock Wednesday night, June 25th.
Some good insight there from Paul Biancardi from ESPN. I feel like he's reading my mind.
Giddy. Look at you. Look at that smile.
Because he's reading my mind right now. I think we have the same sort of, we're dialed into the same sort of information.
Yeah.
He's an expert. I'm not. I'm just a fan. But I feel like we're here. Look,
I'm just a fan.
I'm just a fan.
So modest.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
With some sort of.
You know something about something.
I know something about something.
Yeah.
I'm a fan with something.
Yeah.
That knows something.
You bring something to the table.
You know who knows a lot?
I do know who knows a lot.
Nick Carboni and Danielle Stein. These two. Man, I feel like we should have like the NBA on NBC theme song.
You go ahead and sing it.
Dun, 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 dun. No, hold on. I'm thinking the NFL. I don't. Somebody help me.
Make your own jingle.
There we
go. Not too much. We only get copyrighted.
Okay. All right. That's 5 seconds. That's 5 seconds. I'm saying all this to say NBA draft special coverage with Locked On Wednesday. The draft is Wednesday. Look, Game 7 is Sunday night. NBA season will be over. The start of a new NBA season, officially with the draft, starts Wednesday. Wednesday at 7 p.m. on WCNC Plus. Danielle Stein, Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein, Locked On Sports, NBA draft special coverage. You don't want to miss it. Is there a little graphic with Jeb Goldman? We did have one of those. We should.
I'll be there.
He's there.
Will you be there?
I'll be there.
He's there. Jeb Goldman, Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein, NBA draft special coverage.
What else could you want?
I don't know. Locked On Sports?
Yeah.
He's going to be there too?
Everyone's going to be there.
The only person is missing?
You.
Me.
They left you out for a reason.
Come on. We'd take you in a heartbeat.
I'll do a Zoom from home. And we'll make it happen from home.
You're like, I'm not getting overtime for this. I'm not going to stay here for it. I'll do it from home.
You'll get T-shirt Nick.
T-shirt
I'm
Nick.
wearing a T-shirt. I'm gonna wear a T-shirt, and I'll give you my draft analysis, my feedback. So again, I want to say this again: Danielle Stein, Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein, Jeb Goldman, NBA Draft special coverage with Locked On, Wednesday, 7 p.m. only on WCNC Plus. You don't want to miss it. Man, the draft is here. Game 7 is almost here. It's like I'm sad that the NBA season is wrapping up, but I'm also happy that we're getting into another NBA official-ish season, kinda, with the draft. That's what it marks. So, again, you don't want to miss it. A lot of good stuff, a lot of great content. You saw that interview with Paul Biancardi. A lot of great stuff happened there. So you don't want to miss that. Only on WCNC Plus. All right. Are we ready for our next thing, Carlene? Let me know.
Not quite
Not
for
quite.
Jesse Pierre, but we do
Okay.
have something from Sweet Miles Harris on his story today. We just got his little whip in for us.
Let me check in again on. We've had a lot happening today. Okay, so here we go. So Miles is actually following up today. He's in the Beatties Fort area. Following up, I don't know if you remember, Phil, 5 years ago, this weekend marks 5 years since a shooting there in Beatties Fort, on Beatties Fort Road there. As far as we know, no suspects. There is a reward out there. So still a lot of unanswered questions around that case from 5 years ago. This weekend marks 5 years since that shooting. Miles Harris is there in the Beatties Fort community with more.
Miles Harris here, WCNC Charlotte. We are in West Charlotte, specifically along Beatties Ford Road, with this Sunday marking as that 5-year anniversary from that mass shooting that took place here in 2020 and took the lives of 4 individuals. Now, obviously, investigators, they are still searching for clues, looking for any information about who or what group of people actually led to that more than 100 rounds that went into that crowd during a Juneteenth celebration. But there's also organizations that are here. They are doing those boots on the ground type of approach, those efforts to really trying to uplift this community, keep this area safe. But there is also still family members and, again, law enforcement that are searching for clues, information, and answers. And there's even a nearly $50,000 reward for any information that can lead to an arrest. So if you can see here again, this is Beatties Ford Road here, and actually I'm going to walk up here a little bit closer here. As you can see, there is still a plaque to remember those that lost their lives from that incident. And again, when we talk to Alternatives to Violence, that organization, they are here, but they are also trying to use every piece of history in trying to uplift this community. And then again, there are family members and there is also detectives that are still looking for clues and information about what happened on that date back in 2020.
And so Miles will have an update this afternoon into the evening. That was Miles giving us a quick update on what he has so far on this story. Again, it's been 5 years since that shooting there in the Beatties Fort community. All right, so let's shift our attention now to a big case. We're talking about Shanquella Robinson. You may be familiar with this. So we got some new developments. And again, new developments when it comes to the ongoing fight, when it comes to justice in the death of Shanquella Robinson. She's from Charlotte. So one of the travel mates who vacationed with Robinson in Cabo back in 2022 is trying to get the civil lawsuit against her thrown out. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre joins us live now. She's there at the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, I believe. So, and Jess, you've been following the story for months. Catch us up. What do you have? What's the latest?
Hi, yeah, so I'm right outside of actually the federal courthouse, and we were just here a few months ago when a federal judge heard the arguments in a lawsuit that the family filed against the FBI, the Department of State, as well as all of the 6 travel mates. Now, it's been more than 2.5 years since Shanquella Robinson died in that mysterious death in Mexico. And we had seen that video that went viral showing her getting beaten by one of those travel mates. But after all of this time, no one has been held accountable. So like I mentioned, the family sued all of the folks in the trip, the FBI and the Department of State, claiming negligence for the federal agencies. And so now the woman who has been accused as being the main aggressor in those videos, she's asking for those charges to be dropped. So Imani Green, she changed her name. Her name was Dejanay Jackson, but now she goes by Imani Green. She has filed so that for the judge to dismiss the wrongful death lawsuit against her. She claims that she wasn't properly served in the court documents and says the statute of limitation has expired. Now, we did reach out to Shanquella Robinson's family attorney, Sue Ann Robinson, and she says that this information is incorrect. So, it's gonna, I guess, it kind of all comes down to what the judge decides at the end on if this case is going to be dismissed or not. However, the judge did dismiss the lawsuit against the FBI and the Department of State. Now, another thing, again, this has been a long, ongoing case. The travel maids, when they first came back from the trip, they spoke to the family and told them that she had died of alcohol poisoning. But her death records and so forth showed that she had a broken neck and a severed spinal cord injury on that trip, which all, go along with that mysterious death of hers. And then that video that went viral after that, showing her getting beaten by one of those folks on the trip, tells a different tale. So, her family has been fighting for justice for a very long time, just really wanting someone to be held accountable in her death. Now, at last check, no final ruling has been made yet on the dismissal request. Nick?
And Jesse, before I let you go, on a personal note, like at least since I've been here over a year and a half, and you've been covering this story a lot. Like, what has it been like covering this story? Because there's been so many twists and turns since this happened.
There have been a lot of twists and turns, and it's been a long time, and there's been a lot of emotions tied to this case. I remember going to her funeral, and hundreds of people showed up wearing pink and, showing support for her, people who knew her, people who didn't know her. And I think that the question continues, you go on a trip, vacation with who you believe are 6 friends of yours. And then, if you're a family member of Shanquella Robinson, it's like, wait, what happened to my child? She went on this trip. You see this video of her being beaten, and there's so many questions. Why would this happen? Why would others sit around and, record it, and not do anything to stop it? And so now you have this young woman who has died, and there's just no accountability, no arrest, and there's just still so many questions surrounding her death,
Yeah, so it's a lot of twists and turns. A lot has been going on. Jesse's been covering it. Jesse, thank you for that. And before I let you go, when can folks check out your story tonight?
I will be on at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock today. And then we'll, of course, have the web article. So if you missed it live on air, you can definitely go back and watch it on WCNC.com.
All right, that is Jesse Pierre with the latest on the Shanquella Robinson case. Jesse, thank you for your time here. It's a story that, I was in Raleigh when this story happened, and we covered it from afar. And then, when I got the job here, moved here, obviously with Shanquella Robinson, being from Charlotte, a major case. So still a lot of questions there, and I'm sure her family is seeking some closure in this case. All right, so we want to stay here at home. We want to go over to Monroe, where there's some controversy happening in Monroe, because Monroe faces major election changes under state legislation, House Bill 3. So city officials, residents have expressed outrage over this legislation that could fundamentally alter local elections for a while. So again, Miles Harris he's been covering the story. He spoke with a city council person along with community leaders regarding this piece of legislation. Again, that is House Bill 3. We want to play you their full interviews. Let's take a listen in.
Okay, we're talking about House Bill 3. And if this House Bill 3 continues to go through, what does this mean for the city of Monroe?
It's tragic for the city of Monroe. First of all, it will put an untold expense. We have $75,000 already budgeted for this year's election. If this is pushed through and we end up having to have a primary, that's at least another $75,000. Should there be a tie in the primary, that's another one. Not only that, it tampered on people's freedoms and the right to vote. It's an attempt to control the vote and to suppress the vote. It was a cowardly act, and it came as a complete surprise to us. Had the Board of Election not let us know, we would have been in limbo the whole time. We are shocked and appalled at it because there was a lack of transparency. It's going to erode trust. It took the whole city by surprise. And I will say the city is up in arms because at the very least we could have a referendum to allow people to decide. As elected officials, we take an oath to serve, not serve ourselves. So, you know, it makes you think differently about people and what their character will allow them to do. But I urge everyone to continue emailing, texting, calling. And on Tuesday, there will be a rally in Raleigh at the legislature, giving people the opportunity to go and to express their feelings about it. Hopefully many people will go, and those that can't, to still use the other avenues to reach our district, our senator, and our representative. I will say that two of them do nothing of it as well, Senator Coffin and Representative Brody.
And you kind of talked about that though too, about the transparency part. Kind of break down though too how that process, I don't know why there wasn't that much transparency or how that even happened.
Well, I can only surmise. We have an election where we have a Republican candidate, and I plan to be a mayoral candidate as well. And it's opposition. And evidently it's a threat. So to control it, they use underhanded methods.
So what's your, I know you mentioned a couple things from the voting aspect to the finances aspect of this though too. I mean, what can the people in Monroe really do? I mean, I know you mentioned that rally last week.
Okay, they can voice their concern. If they have any contact at all with the state legislator, whether it be from our district or not, you know, they end up getting a vote as well. But let it out how you feel. Let it out that we were tampered with, treated unfairly. Let it out that we want a voice. This is supposed to be a democracy. And the only way that can be is people have the opportunity to choose how they vote.
And that's crazy because when I looked at it though too, I mean, this process as far as voting for you guys hasn't changed in decades.
No, in 65 years. That's how long. And it works well for people because people have opportunity without you having to declare your party. Nobody is ashamed of whatever party they choose to be in. But in the municipal government, problems are people problems, quality of life issues. We don't have problems that germane to Republicans, germane to Democrat, Independent. These are issues, and we want to be served as one unified group. That's what we have here in Monroe, and that's what's in danger of being stopped.
You live in Monroe?
I do. Yeah, I've been a resident of Monroe since 2012 and been in Union County since 1978.
Talk to me about your thoughts about this House Bill 3.
You know, I'm definitely against Monroe being added to it. Ultimately, we don't know yet if it's a good thing or not, but the way it was added to the bill without any input from city council, city staff, the citizens, anything like that, I think it was just kind of done improperly.
Yeah. Do you feel as though like the process and the way to do that kind of questions whether or not the priority in getting people in the city of Monroe to get out there and vote, their voices are kind of taken away in that?
I agree. I think the fact that we have this process that the citizens didn't have any input in is kind of a slap in the face. You know, we believe that the citizens should have input in everything we do, and I believe in local government has the right to regulate themselves, and when we have someone from the state basically regulating our way of life and government without any input at all is just not a good thing.
As a community member, have you tried to talk to the higher ups that have, whether it's city officials, as far as kind of getting answers into how this process has gone to this point, and how's that reaction been?
Yeah, we really haven't had a whole lot of information back, and I know the state level, they haven't been really communicating with city council, and we haven't heard a whole lot from our mayor either as far as how this whole process started. So I know it's kind of a big mystery right now, and we're trying to get Monroe pulled off that House Bill 3, get it back to the citizens of Monroe and City Council and City staff and the Board of Elections. Let us try and figure out exactly how this will go and give us a couple years to do it instead of basically canceling our elections and forcing something on us.
My last question for you, though, too, is if this thing does go through, what is your biggest fear with this?
I think, you know, we're pretty resilient here in Monroe, and we'll get through it. Partisan elections, you know, it's nothing new to other parts of the country. We would be the only one in the Union County to have it. So who knows how it will play out? You know, it may actually be a benefit long term to the unaffiliated. I'm an unaffiliated candidate, and unaffiliated is the largest voting bloc in Monroe and soon to be in Union County. So based on the partisan elections, there may be some things that will actually help that group.
Yeah, but the information with this is probably the biggest thing, right? Trying to find.
It is. Trying to sort the whole thing out last minute. You know, basically the city manager had no idea what was happening until the Board of Elections called him up and said, how are the citizens going to pay this $80,000 this fall? And that was it.
That's crazy, though, to think about, right?
It is, to where someone from the city of Monroe went to Raleigh and said, this is what we want, when we had zero discussion.
So Jen, talk to me as a community member here. What your really concern or fear is with this House Bill 3 for you guys?
So first of all, the sneakiness of House Bill 3. I will say that no one knew about it until a week ago, a week and a day actually. 4:30, the council, the city manager, everyone here found out about it after it had been presented to in committees. So the big issue is, why did they add Monroe last minute? Who encouraged Monroe to be added last minute? So we are in a really big fight here in Monroe for the mayor race and the council seats. And a particular member of that community goes to Raleigh every other week and is very popular with the Republican Party right now. They interact, they have meetings together. And so in my personal opinion, just Jen Sanders, my personal opinion, is that Robert Burns had something to do with this bill. And everything comes out in the wash. So we will find out if he did or did not. And so for me, it's about the sneakiness and the lack of community input. The community does not want this. What this does is it makes what should be a council that represents every person in the county or in the city, it's supposed to be to represent them. But if you make it a partisan, like they did with the school board, then it becomes less about the people and more about your political ambitions.
As a voter standpoint, how does this change you guys?
Well, as a voter, I mean, it disenfranchises a lot of voters. The one that actually benefits the most is the unaffiliated voters, which we have more unaffiliated voters in Monroe than we do Democrat or Republican. So it's actually really good for them, because what this is going to do is it's going to educate the average voter. A lot of people don't think that municipals are important. They don't understand the power that municipals have. So when we say that you vote local, whatever happens locally goes state and federally. So, you know, when we try to tell people that you should know the candidate, you should get to know who they are. And yes, a lot of people vote down ballot, so depending on what letters behind it, R or D. But unaffiliated voters get to pull whichever ballot they choose. So for them, it's actually really great. That's why we have such a large unaffiliated pool in North Carolina, because they have power in their voice. Now, for what this does for the average voter who's not engaged is they won't know that there's a primary. They won't know that there's a potential of a runoff of a primary. It already is a struggle to get people to come out and vote for municipals. But now that there is some light on this particular board and this particular city council, more people are engaged than ever. And I think, my personal opinion is, I think that the mayor was a little bit worried, because I don't think that he'll have the votes to win again. So,
as far as what you guys are planning to do moving forward, I mean, how do you guys plan to either stop, halt, get people aware of this bill, and what's the next step for you guys too?
So we are doing a train ride up to Raleigh next week. So far we have about 50 people that have signed up to go. We're going to go up to Raleigh and go talk to the representatives, Todd Johnson in particular, because we have questions for Todd Johnson. We want to know why he decided to put an amendment or present an amendment at 4 o'clock yesterday, last minute, after the city council said that they did not even want the bill. A vote of 6-1, by the way. They voted 6-1 not to have the Monroe added to HB1. So we're going to ask Todd Johnson, why did he feel it was important to add an amendment to push our elections back a year? What does that, and who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit the voters of Monroe. It only really benefits the mayor of Monroe, because now he doesn't have to run for another year. And Mayor Robert Burns has big ambitions for the state of North Carolina, and he plans on going higher up into the state, if not federally. So for me, this benefits him to push it back a year, but it disenfranchises 21,000 voters in Monroe.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's, in your opinion, that probably is taking away votes, or the idea for votes for some people.
Absolutely.
I mean, people though, right? So.
Absolutely. You have a constitutional right to vote. That is your God. That's what the Constitution has given us, the ability to voice your opinion in elections. And now you're telling 21,000 people that their voice doesn't count, that their vote doesn't matter. That's not only disingenuous, but it's also it's fraud. It does. No one asked for this, so why is it all of a sudden being added? That's the question that we need to start asking.
All right, so that's some strong reaction about House Bill 3 in Monroe. Essentially, what it would do, it would change fundamentally the elections there in a town like Monroe. You can read more on that story on our website, WCNC.com. Also, download our news app. All right, let's switch gears. Let's go to 336, my neck of the woods, my home.
Oh, we always got to bring it up. You got to bring it up once a stream. Where's Nick from?
I'm from High Point.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Greensboro.
Not to talk, love Greensboro.
You love okay, all right.
Respect to the people. But, we got to pick on Nick because we hear it at least once a stream.
I got to remind y'all where I'm from.
Right. You're loyal to the soil.
I'm loyal to the soil. See, Carlene's picking up on the lingo. All right, so
Stop.
Greensboro Complex. It's weird for me to say Greensboro Complex because for years it was known as the Greensboro Coliseum. So if I slip up and say Greensboro Coliseum, I mean the Greensboro Complex.
Okay.
So the Greensboro Complex, the home of growing up, the ACC tournament. It's been an NCAA tournament stop. Concerts there.
We're getting a history too.
I remember going to Super Jam back in the day. It was a hip hop concert back in the day. It doesn't happen anymore. The Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes, played some of their initial games there at the Greensboro Coliseum. And now this weekend, the 2025 World Ninja League Championships. Now, Carlene, you may be asking me, what is the Ninja Championship?
What is it?
I'm glad you asked, because I had to ask AI. And it's a competitive obstacle course event inspired by the television show American Ninja Warrior, where athletes test their strength, agility, and endurance on challenging courses.
Yep.
And so it's happening at the Greensboro Complex, not Greensboro Coliseum. Logan Campbell is there inside the Greensboro Complex. How are you doing, Logan?
Oh, we are doing well. I'll tell you, I had to ask what the World Ninja League is too, but coming here, it is so impressive just seeing, first of all, how many people came out to this event. Second of all, just the ages of the kids competing in this physical and mental competition. It's crazy. It is crazy.
What can folks expect?
Well, let me show you. Let me see if I can turn this around, because when I walked in here, I don't really know what I was expecting, but this is like out of this world. Like American Ninja Warriors, you've already seen that show. So this is just one side of it. And there's multiple different competition courses set up. It goes all the way back there. And this is only half of it. There's a whole other side. And you can see right now, I think this age is middle school girls competing right now. So you can see her try to like get the door open. But there's just so many different courses that were made for the World Ninja League. And these were made actually the night before. So it started yesterday on the 19th. It runs through the 23rd. And each course is so unique. And none of these competitors had any idea what the course is going to look like. It's a surprise when they get here. And they are killing it. You see that?
I'm nervous. I thought I'm hoping that she's killing it right now.
I know. Oh my gosh, I could not even imagine just the grip strength. That's the one thing when we talked with multiple people, they were saying the grip strength is the most important part of it all. I could literally not even hold a monkey bar for more than 2 seconds. So the fact that these 12-year-olds are crushing it, it's incredible to see.
One thing I want to ask: how it's so many people there? Like, how unique is this when it comes to the area to have something like that? Like, I went down the rundown of, basketball. Greensboro is a basketball town. I graduated high school inside Greensboro Complex. How unique is that for the area?
Oh, it is so unique. And the funny thing is that the World Ninja League is one of the fastest growing sports leagues in the country, and you would not expect that. This is actually their 5th year coming here to Greensboro, and they said that this has become a fan favorite city just because of the hospitality that Greensboro has given the World Ninja League, and just the space. You've been here for Horizon Coliseum. It's massive. They take up the whole entire special event center area, and they said that their best turnouts come here in Greensboro. So over the last 10 years, when it was officially introduced as a competitive sport, they said it has grown exponentially, and they don't even know where it's going to be by next year when it comes back.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Logan Campbell. I got to ask you before I let you go, are you, I see the obstacle course, are you taking part at all? And if so, can we get some video so we can play that?
Oh, please.
I'm trying to. You know what's funny? It's like, these are such intricate courses. So they said I can't touch any of the real courses, which I get. I wouldn't want to touch them either. They scare me, to be honest. But they have a little like bouncy, floaty course that I might have to check out at 4:00 at our show. So if I am able to do it, I'll be sure to get you guys a clip because I want to try. But I'm going to embarrass myself. I already know that, but I'll try it.
That is part of the fun, embarrassing yourself,
right.
but being safe at the same time.
We gotta get you out there, Nick.
No,
you gotta get at least on the bunny slope little thing,
Because I come back in a cast, and then I won't be able to do my job properly. I'll be cranked. No, you don't.
Nick, they're open till 8. You have an hour and a half drive. You can make it up here in time.
You know what?
Listen to Logan. You have an hour and a half.
Y'all are trying to hype me up right now. Look. I might. So if you see me, I might do it. Logan Campbell, thank you for your time. Have fun out there.
Thanks, guys.
Carlene, I saw your face when I said I graduated high school from the Greensboro complex. Mm-hmm. I keep wanting to say Greensboro Coliseum. Yeah, that's where I had my high school graduation, the Greensboro complex. That's where I went to my first concert.
Mr. Greensboro, Mr. High Point.
What else? The Greensboro Prowlers.
Yep.
Back in the day was a minor league arena football team. And
really?
I watched the game. They got blown out. They lost 100-0. I am not lying. I forgot the team. Former. It was grand opening, grand closing. I think they lasted for 2 seasons maybe. But my brother and I went to the game. They lost 100. We wanted them to win, and it got to a point where we're rooting for the other team to score 100 points.
I mean, yeah, honestly, if they're gonna go, they're gonna go. Yeah.
Hang 100 points.
You gotta respect it.
So a lot of memories there. So it's cool to see the Ninja League championships there. So that's pretty cool.
It is really cool.
Have you been to the Greensboro complex?
No, I have not. Actually, I have not been to the Greensboro complex.
Right across the street is a really good barbecue spot.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going into see. This is what happens.
So I've only been to Greensboro
shots.
once. I would like to try it. I need to go up there again.
Along Gate City Boulevard.
Yeah.
It's what they call Greensboro, the Gate City. All right. So there's enough about my Greensboro High Point history. We'll talk about it next show. For now, and look, good event if you're trying to escape the heat.
Yeah.
Because it's hot outside.
It's hot.
And those folks have they have the right thing in mind. They're staying inside.
Yeah.
They're doing the right thing.
But a lot of people are going outside this weekend.
A lot of folks here in the Charlotte area are outside.
Yep. Including you.
I get it. We'll talk about this.
We'll talk about it. We'll
talk about it after weather. This is Majestic Storm with our full forecast.
Well, good Friday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, do we have an absolutely gorgeous weekend ahead, but it is going to be very hot at times. We'll start with today. We'll take a look ahead at what you need to be ready for, plus next week. Now, if you have any plans for your Friday, it's going to be beautiful. We're talking about temperatures that are right around where we should be for this time of the year. Tomorrow for your Saturday, if you want to beat the heat, you need to wake up early, get those errands done. If you want to work out in the yard, you got to get that done early as well, because we're cranking up the heat. Not just the heat, but the humidity as well. And dangerous heat really starts to move back into our area by next week, where at times it's going to feel between 105 to 110 degrees. So today we're going to see our temperatures mainly rise into the upper 80s, low 90-degree temperatures. That's about where we should be for a day like today. Nice mix of sun and clouds as we head towards the later part of our afternoon, but it's not just our daytime highs that I'm really keeping a close eye on, but even our overnight lows are struggling to cool, so we're not getting a lot of that overnight relief. You can see as we're looking up towards the mountains, this is where it's actually comfortable. Mid to upper 70s, some low 80-degree temperatures. Not only do we have cooler temperatures, but also, of course, less humidity. A great place to be this weekend if you don't like the heat and humidity. Out towards Lenore and Morganton, look at that, sunny skies all afternoon, and yes, we're cranking up the heat. Plan for those mid to upper 80s, and then right around the Charlotte metro area, little hotter, 90 degrees in Charlotte today, 90 for Gastonia, and about 92 for Lincolnton. Might be a great afternoon to take those kids to the pool, or even just turn on the sprinkler, let them go outside and play. Just find a nice way for everyone to stay cool, especially if you're somebody who does not have air conditioning. The next few days are going to get a bit brutal. As we're looking at Rock Hill, about 90 degrees for your forecasted high, and over the next 3 days, we're 90 today, even hotter for Saturday and Sunday, a high temperature of 95 degrees. But here's the catch. Now, the humidity today is actually going to be just okay. Once we head into the next few days, you'll notice an increase in that humidity, but really an increase in those temperatures. We are riding this roller coaster up. Look at this, 97 on Monday. Tuesday, a high of 99 degrees, multiple days in a row into the 90s. So a dangerous stretch of very warm temperatures. No rain showers over the next several days. We really won't have our next best opportunity until the middle of next week. Humidity today, it's going to be all right. Not the worst we've ever seen. You'll notice an increase in humidity, though, this upcoming weekend. So if you want to go out to the farmer's market, do it early in the day, because as we head into the afternoon, yeah, those temperatures increase, but so will that humidity. If you're heading out to the lake this weekend, that'd be a great place to be. No severe storms in the forecast, no storms in the forecast at all. But look at this. This is Saturday at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what it's going to feel like. Mainly into the mid-90s for most of us. Sunday, heat index value reaching upper 90s and low 100s. Unfortunately, it gets worse. By Monday, if you work outside in the elements, this is what it's going to feel like. 101 for Rock Hill, 103 for Wadesboro. Tuesday seems to be the absolute worst, where we could see some of those heat index values rising to 107 east of Charlotte, some areas up to around 110 degrees. So if you do know somebody without air conditioning, make sure you loop them in, make sure they are aware of what's coming ahead, because while it is going to be sunny and beautiful, that heat and humidity can really get quite dangerous if you're not prepared for it. Today, a high of 90 degrees, plenty of sunshine, lots of beautiful weather as we're heading into our weekend. 95 again on Sunday, but notice those overnight lows. I mean, we're only dropping down into the low to mid 70s, so not cooling down a whole lot. Stay close to WCNC Weather Team. We'll keep you up to date. Have a great weekend.
I mean, it is what it is when it comes to weather. Look, hey, today's a pick.
Today's a pick.
Today is a pick, so we'll stick with that. All right, so we'll stay here in Charlotte. So it's a cool story, seeking solutions story. So the City of Charlotte's Solid Waste Services Department is seeking solutions to provide more trade job opportunities for those in Charlotte. The goal is to identify and remove barriers to employment. So we got a chance to tag along and talk with the Solid Waste Services Department and one of the guys in the program. Here's the full interviews from WCNC Charlotte's Bria Smith. Let's take a listen in.
Well, first here at the City of Charlotte, we wanted to recognize and eliminate those employment barriers, and we realized that it was difficult for individuals to get those CDL driver's license. So we wanted to be able to provide an opportunity for residents to have upward mobility by joining our apprenticeship program. We would train them to get their CDLs, a year-long program, and at the end of the program, they would leave with some benefits as far as having a CDL. They would have their journeyman's card, their OSHA 10 certification, so they would have a lot of benefits with finishing this program.
Absolutely. A lot of people would say that, it doesn't take a full year to get their CDL license, but talk about the unique factors that come with this. Obviously, you just mentioned a few other certifications there, but that this program provides them that would make it worth their time?
Well, not only do we do the CDL, but we spend time with the apprentice employees. We go over personal development, career development. We give them some resume building skills, just trying to make them a better overall employee. We do customer conflict resolution, SMART goals, just to make sure that they have what they need to be successful in the career.
Absolutely. Is there really anything that really just stands out that you want people to know as far as how the process works, like the qualifications that they need, or rather the requirements that they need before, starting? How long is? I know it's 1 year, but kind of the demographics of that.
Well, we just look for people that's willing to work hard, that wants a career here at the City of Charlotte. But we ask that someone have a driver's license. You have a regular driver's license. You come here, we'll train you, show you everything you need to know. It's beautiful because you have individuals that comes in with no experience with operating a large 26,000-pound vehicle. By the end of the program, they're able to hit the ground running. They're operating these vehicles out in the neighborhoods, serving their community, and just being safe and being great employees.
Absolutely. So the program takes place here?
Yes. Yep. Everything is done in-house. We have trainers that work with them from start to finish. We spend time in the classroom going over pre-trip material. We also do hands-on, showing them around the truck, how to properly pre-trip the truck, how to properly drive the truck. We just put in a lot of resources into the apprentice program.
Absolutely. And are there like certain windows, when these programs start? Is it just kind of like any time of the year? Talk a little bit about that.
So currently we're on our third apprenticeship program. So it's a year-long program. So we've only been doing it once a year. We normally do them around April, May. That's kind of when it opens up. And then it goes for a year from there. So around April and May, that's when we normally open up our apprenticeship program.
Perfect. I'm really trying to, get to that information for that group of people who might be interested once they see this. So talk about, how they could access, is there a link online, anything that they might need or anywhere they need to go to sign up for next year?
Absolutely. All our job postings are posted on Charlotte NC job website, and you can see the apprenticeship posting there when we do open them up. But a lot of times we'll do radio ads. We may even do certain things in the community where we try to promote that, hey, we're having job fairs. So I know in the past we done radio announcements, or we have job fairs to let people come here and let them know that we're looking for great workers. This is a wonderful program, this apprenticeship program. When I started in the city of Charlotte almost 15 years ago now, I wish we had this apprenticeship program. It's a great way to get individuals into the door, but it's also a way to give them great skills that they need to be successful and to build a lifelong career. Coming here, working with our apprenticeship program, once you finish, you're leaving with great benefits, job stability, security. One thing that I appreciate is about a lot of people may not know if they're going to have a job tomorrow, but one thing working for the city of Charlotte is we have great stability. We don't have to worry about being laid off. We know that the job that we provide for our residents is one that they need and require and rely on us to do and perform.
Absolutely. One last thing that I did have a question about. So they'll be driving for the city, so it'll be within the city limits. So I know some people who do get their CDLs, they might, have to travel outside.
So for us, the beautiful thing is, yes, you'll be in the city limits. You won't have to go to different states, but you'll be right here serving in the city of Charlotte, keeping the city beautiful and clean.
I'm a sanitation equipment operator senior. So the starting point was I started out as an apprentice. The way I became an apprentice was I got an email.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Right there, you're watching a cool story. Seeking Solutions, City of Charlotte Solid Waste Services Department offering an apprenticeship program. You can catch that full story on our website and in our news app. But we want to shift now to the State Department briefing that is happening live. This is a live look at spokesperson Tammy Bruce. So this comes as President Trump is still mulling over decisions when it comes to what to do in the Israel-Iran conflict that continues to escalate. Let's listen in to what Tammy Bruce, spokesperson for the State Department, is saying right now.
To sign up for the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, known as STEP, to receive the latest updates from the State Department. We also urge U.S. citizens to regularly monitor the department's website at travel.state.gov to receive the latest updates and to find emergency contact information. Americans overseas in need of assistance should contact their nearest U.S. embassy or consulate, or call, if you're overseas, +1 202 501 4444. That is +1 202 501 4444. Another important update, the State Department has added a crisis intake form, which can be found by clicking the banner on the top of travel.state.gov, which, once again, the magic of technology, there it is. The new aspect is that red banner at the top. Click on Israel and Iran departure info for U.S. citizens and follow the instructions for more information. U.S. citizens in Israel and the West Bank who would like to receive information on departure assistance should fill out the form that this website will take you to. This crisis intake form will also allow U.S. citizens in Iran to register their information. We do not anticipate offering direct U.S. government-assisted departure from Iran. Americans seeking departure should take advantage of existing means to leave. The Department of State has provided information and support to over 25,000 people seeking guidance regarding the situation in Israel, the West Bank, and Iran. And on Iran, I want to reiterate the statement from President Trump delivered by my colleague Caroline yesterday. Quote, based on the fact that there is a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place in the near future, I will make my decision of whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. And now, with so much happening, there has been some news this week you may not have seen. After 3 days of talks, technical teams from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Republic of Rwanda initialed the text of a peace agreement on Wednesday. Next Friday, June 27th, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will witness the ministerial signing of that peace agreement right here at the Department of State, led by the foreign ministers of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This is a milestone achievement and a significant step toward peace in that region, and we remind our friends and partners that with implementation of the agreement, the economic investment and development we all want to see will finally be possible. We look forward to more on this next Friday. Also, I would like to join the many Americans in New Jersey welcoming home Idan Alexander. Held hostage by Hamas, his release is a reminder of our commitment to Americans wherever they may be in the world. The scenes of people lining the streets were truly heartwarming, and America is stronger with one of our sons finally home. And lastly, we are having this briefing on Friday because we were not here yesterday because it was the holiday Juneteenth. On June 19th, for everyone wondering and not perhaps having all the details, on June 19th, 1865, Union Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas to announce General Order No. 3, declaring that all enslaved people in Texas were free. More than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation had officially ended slavery in Confederate States, I should say. This day, now known as Juneteenth, has become a profound commemoration of freedom and resilience. So I hope you enjoyed yesterday, and we are here today, and I'm ready for your questions, shall we? Yes, Daphne.
Thank you so much. So on the 25,000 that you said the State Department has provided information to, is that U.S. citizens who are seeking information on leaving Israel, the West Bank, and Iran?
It's information in general. So it would be a combination, I'm sure, but it's a general information, conditions, perhaps departures as well, but general information.
Okay, and do you have any numbers on the number of U.S. citizens that are seeking information on departing Israel or Iran?
Those are not numbers that I will share at this time. Just as a reminder as well, while today is a bit different than the feeling of Tuesday, we are still in a dynamic where there are still hostilities, where there are still people in bunkers, where there is still danger. Clearly, we've heard the statement from President Trump about his posture at this point. So we're still going to be careful for national security reasons, obviously, when it comes to what we can answer. So that's a number that I won't be able to give you today.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. And we will not, we'll do one more, but then we will continue on here. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Just on Ambassador Huckabee's tweet, he said that the U.S. is working to get military, commercial, charter flights, and cruise ships for evacuation. Have any of those organized by the State Department evacuated American citizens yet? And if not, when is that expected
Again,
to start?
I won't give details from this podium, but we know that at each embassy they are posting actions that they're taking. We know that the Israeli embassy is doing that, so you could go to either travel.state.gov and get to the Israeli embassy, or go there directly, and you will see their statements, and I would urge you to do that directly when it comes to what the Israeli embassy is doing and what they've accomplished. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis chartered flights apparently for Americans in Israel seeking to leave, and successfully got, I believe it's 1,500 out. I was wondering if those charter flights were coordinated with the State Department in any way, or was this done on some tangent?
Well, I think that there's, and we know that there, of course, are some independent efforts to get American citizens out of those areas, and when we suggest that people take advantage of existing means, we would include, of course, the nature of other opportunities to leave, independent efforts, independent groups managing those dynamics. As far as the DeSantis effort, I would suggest you call the state of Florida, call his office, and I'm sure that they'll get you more information. All right, Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Since the president said there is substantial opportunity for negotiation and has given it 2 weeks, why not send in a U.S. representative to join the Europeans with the Iranians in Geneva today? And second, Mr. Grossi is worried that if Boushahar reacted...
Let me answer your first one first. Okay. If I may, and then we'll follow up with your second. First of all, Geneva is a discussion involving the Europeans. Of course, we're working on many different fronts and have from the beginning here in leading the nature of finding a solution to this problem. We certainly continue to. The President's made it very clear, as he has, again, not just about this issue, but every other war and conflict that he's trying to stop. And also with his statement that he would allow to make a decision within the 2 weeks because of the potential. So those efforts continue on. How we're pursuing those efforts are up to the President, and he's making those decisions and anticipates that it might be worth waiting those 2 weeks. But other than, I can't characterize the why or the how. But I think it's important. One thing I think of the many that Americans have learned about President Trump is to believe what he says, to know that he'll deliver, and to not second guess the nature of the choices he's making.
Great. And second, Mr. Grossi is worried about reaction coming from Boushahar if it was attacked. So are you worried that as a result of these attacks on any of the reactors that actually we might have a nuclear radiation?
Well, certainly. I'm not going to speculate on the impact of the nature of what is transpiring in any country in this regard. I know that Israel has issued statements afterwards in dealing with any concerns regarding the actions that they're taking, and I would refer you to the Israeli government in that regard. But I'm not going to speculate on a hypothetical dynamic at this point. All right, yes?
With regard to the talks taking place today, or concluded today in Geneva, does the Trump administration believe that they were productive in paving the way for diplomacy?
Well, I don't want to characterize what the Secretary of State may think of what has happened. I know that the government as a whole, that we're hopeful for every new opportunity, every new effort to have this come to a conclusion that is diplomatic. That is something clearly we've seen in the President's posture. So while I won't be able to characterize it about what their opinions are at this point, I think at some point we may find that out. But I do know that we do hope that every effort is successful.
Two more quick questions. Is the Secretary planning to get on the phone with any of those foreign counterparts that were in the meeting later today?
Well, I know that, of course, he's headed to The Hague next week. And so I know conversations, no doubt, will happen there about a whole number of issues. All right.
And then,
yes, sir. We'll move on here. We'll move on here. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
To the Secretary's Hague trip. When he was in Brussels in early April, he told us that it would take a few days or weeks, not months, certainly, for him to assess whether or not Putin was serious about ending the war. Today, we have all seen Putin's statements. So he himself made it clear that he has no intention to end the war and the killing. He even discussed, more territories to seize. I'm wondering, have you guys landed anywhere in terms of your conclusion about Putin's intention?
Well, we know that since that point, I don't think he said days at that point, but he said a matter of weeks, and in that process, we saw our posture adjust in that framework. At the same time, as I've mentioned before, during negotiations, things sometimes progress. Things change. That's the whole point of negotiations and conversations, is that you signal that how long it is generally that you're willing to wait, but that you would know if someone is serious. And then again, it's not a static environment as you're moving forward through that time. At the same time, we've heard since then some very blunt comments by President Trump about President Putin. We also know that the parties themselves have met directly. And I think that that's also where we've landed at this point in comments from both the President and Secretary of State, that the only way this is going to end is for the two parties to meet and come to a conclusion and a decision and some kind of an agreement. That is where it is. And of course, we are always present. We remain concerned and issued comments a couple of days ago about the nature of what's happening in Ukraine and the death of an American. So we are there. We have been, of course, Ukraine's biggest supporter, and we continue to hope for and work with and observe the nature of how the conversations are going at this point between the two parties. And that, like every other negotiation, can change one way or another. But that's our posture at this point. Of course, America is still involved, and we're clearly making our presence, our caring about the situation known, and that's where we're at this point.
Well, taking time, but in light of today's comments, as I mentioned, Putin's comments, and also his press secretary said that now we have a strategic advantage, quote, why should we lose it? We're going to move forward. So in light of those comments, why not calling them out for not being serious about the peace process?
Well, again, we're not in just a world where when we see something online that we are going to choose how we're going to respond as an individual. There are many different fronts always in every situation that we remain involved in. So it's not as simple as a single response to a single quote that came from a statement or something online. This is about dealing with certain situations in a complex manner. Only the president can make the decision about how to proceed. Only he knows all the elements about what's important and how we're going to make a difference. And that's where we have it. It's, as I term it, as I did a couple days ago, there is one guiding hand to the choices that we make, and that would include with Russia, Ukraine, and every conflict he's trying to stop.
May I ask one NATO-related question?
No, we are going to move on here. Thank you, sir.
All right, to go back to Iran just for two quick questions.
Of course.
One, just for clarification, have any Americans been killed or injured in Iranian strikes so far?
You know, I don't think so. Is that, do we have numbers, or is that something that we've been able to? Let's take that back and see where things stand at this point. I do know that the reports that I've seen are that there have been no American injuries or injuries of staff at embassies and consulates. But let's take that back. And again, I would caution, obviously this is a shocking continuation of a war that affects many countries, and we'll get back to you with with the latest that we have.
I suppose the flip side, thank you, we would appreciate an update. The flip side would be if
and again, just a reminder for people watching, when we say we're going to take it back, it means we get the answer and get it directly to the reporter, and then have it, and obviously in this case, as a fluid situation, we'll continue to watch it.
Thank you. And insofar as you're looking into it, if there are American citizens in Iran, which we haven't gotten an estimate of how many Americans might be in Iran,
Sure.
if there are injuries or deaths there, we would also be interested.
Well, yes, you know, again, the messaging is for also Americans who are in Iran, and again, urging them to go to travel.state.gov. We're certainly aware of them. Our task force is working on all of this for every American who is in that region, which provides a different dynamic for some, whether it is, of course, Israel, Iraq or Iran, et cetera. Wherever they may be in the Middle East, we're there for them.
Thank you. The other question is on diplomacy. So we understand the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is in some sort of contact with the Iranians. How would you encourage us to think about that contact? Is that a prelude to negotiations? What's the nature of that of his engagement with the Iranians?
Well, I wouldn't characterize it at all, except there are things that we know, which is that there had been negotiations, that we had gotten Iran to the table. We'd been having those conversations, led by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. And we know that the president, from his statement, which is, I think, worth noting again, because it's very specific in its nature, and also, I must say, when I saw it, very Trump-like in his statement, as a man who is serious about everything he addresses, but in this particular kind of way, when it's existential, life and death, that he genuinely, it's not posturing. He wants to have it be solved diplomatically. He knows it can be. He knows, based on what he's accomplished already in the past, and the nature of human beings, which in business you learn a lot about as well, but certainly in his governmental experience and as a leader. Again, he said, directly from the president, quote, based on the fact that there is a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
On that front, do you have an understanding of why there's now a 2-week window for diplomacy? Because at the same time, the White House said yesterday they understand it might be a couple of weeks before the Iranians achieve a nuclear weapon.
No, but he has his reasons, and he's the one who knows, and that is the specificity of his statement. And I'll leave it at that. All right? Thank you. Yes, sir, at the end here.
So on Ukraine, you said that...
Can you tell me your name and your outlet?
Oskar Gurzyński, Polish Press Agency.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, you said that you're not going to react to a single quote from Russian officials, but over the past few weeks, Russia has made it pretty clear that they're not interested in real negotiations. They killed the U.S. citizen. They struck the Boeing office in Kiev, and the president has repeatedly threatened sanctions on Russia if that happens. So why no action yet? I mean, how does that show peace through strength?
Well, this is one of the reasons why we don't have negotiations in the press, debates between people reading things on the news, quotes in newspapers or made in a moment or on a website, that there are much more complex things that are happening. Other conversations, the culmination of multiple other negotiations with Iran is an example in one case, summits and negotiations with Russia and Ukraine, the parties themselves meeting. We've always said that we will not take, essentially for Russia, we're not going to listen to what they say, we're going to watch what they do. That remains true. But what you would do in this moment is not at issue. What matters are the people who've been involved for months now, dealing with the parties directly, the leaders of countries in the world, but the most powerful leader in the world right now, Donald Trump, who would likely know a little bit more about the nature of the situation than you or I, and I think you might have to agree that he may know more. So I think it's important to not second guess the president, and to not speculate, and to not presume that what he's doing is not in the process of peace, but in fact specifically in that track. And I'm wondering for Matt Lee, who's been studious with his phone, if you do have something you'd like to ask or add.
I actually do.
I'm surprised.
But my question is about
Matt Lee of the Associated Press, for those of you who don't know.
25,000.
The two people in the world. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
The 25,000 You said that you couldn't break it down.
That's
into
correct.
How many were Israel, how many were West Bank, and how many were Iran.
That's right.
But is it correct that the only evacuation flight that has happened so far was the one for embassy staff and family members on Wednesday?
I will not characterize that or agree with you or not. I won't give you an answer to that. Sorry. It's one of those things we can't hear. In the days prior to this conflict, I might go back and forth with you, but I can't answer that.
Okay, well, because there was a comment from the embassy spokesperson about that. So are you aware of when these people call, I assume they're calling the number that
Yes, they are. I've called that number. I don't know if many of you have. You called that number? You can call that number, and you'll get someone from the State
You don't
Department.
go on to permanent hold?
No, they're busier now. After the briefing Tuesday,
I'm
they're
sure.
busier.
So,
but be persistent and do the form online. That's
Okay.
always a good
But
idea.
so the 25,000 people who have reached out,
Yes.
have reached out via that platform, either online or calling.
Correct.
And they, do you know how many of those 25,000 have then taken the information that they've been given or the guidance that they've been given and then left?
There's data that I won't be sharing, and even
you
in
didn't have
general, it's not data that I can share with you. The fact that we got the number from the team, I felt really excited about. Now you're making me feel like it's not so good.
No,
it is. It's a great number, but I will not break it down.
Okay.
I will not go into.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Just wanted to say hello as I take over for Nick Sturdivant as they get ready for the 4 o'clock show here on WCNC Plus inside the Impact News studio. We've got lots going on that we will put back on the screen here in just a second. Kilauea in Hawaii looking very active at this moment. And we've got a shot from Gastonia where it's blazing hot. But honestly, today isn't as bad as we're going to see next week. It sounds like the heat dome is here. Everybody's trying to prepare. So we're going to go back to this Department of State press conference that is ongoing right now and listen in to Miss Tammy.
Do you have any information on this, and would you please be willing to comment?
What I can say, it's going to be brief. You won't necessarily like it, but I can say that we are aware of those reports, that the Iranian regime is using human shields to protect its military bases and forces. And I have nothing further for you at this time, but we are aware. Yes, sir. Well, you have one more?
Yes, one more.
All right, and then we'll come directly to you. Yes, sir.
Danny Danon, Israel's representative to the United Nations, claimed that Iran has attempted to assassinate President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. He said today at the United Nations. Do you want to comment on it?
No, I would suggest you contact the ambassador, but I have no comment on that. Yes, sir. All right, now, yes.
Thank you, Tammy. To question one on Iran and the other one on Iraq. I'm sure you may have heard from the Iranian foreign minister, which he said that we are not coming back to the table unless the Israeli stops strikes on Iran. And they are not going to negotiate with the U.S. until the U.S. will stop Israeli to attack Iranian. Are you willing to broker a ceasefire if that helps you to make a deal with the Iranian?
Obviously, I can't speculate on that. I'm not going to characterize what's happening now or the reaction by the President or the Secretary of State to what those negotiations might be. So you know that's a standard basis here, is we're not going to do that. But as you do know, of course, from the President's remarks, is that he still holds out the hope for negotiations. And there's also been a reinforcement that Iran and its proxy should not target U.S. interests or personnel, and if they do, the consequences will be dire. So we can reinforce that. And of course, the ultimate red line, which has been repeated constantly, because it's what the President sees as being the most important aspect, is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That is not a negotiable dynamic. All right, yes, sir, at the end here. Yes, sir, go ahead, please. No, we'll keep going here.
I have a non-Middle East question.
Yes.
We're getting reports that Japan has canceled the annual security talks known as 2+2 with Secretary Rubio and Defense Secretary Hegseth because of U.S. demands for them to increase their defense spending. Do you have any comment on this? And has Tokyo communicated with
No, I have no comment on that at this point. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you. Tell me two questions, one on China and about the Iran and Israel war. It was reported that the Chinese cargo plane was headed to Iran. Has there been any detection of Chinese actions or cooperation to support Iran?
Let's take that back, shall we? Get back to her with an answer on that. What is your next one, please?
One more question, please. Iran's nuclear weapons are threatening the entire world. If the United States intervenes in a war between Israel and Iran, do you think it will need support or cooperation from its allies?
Well, we've made very clear, I think there's, if anything is obvious to the world, it's that President Trump has demands regarding that situation. His concern is the fact that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We know, of course, since October 7th, Israel remains in the posture of defending itself and the existential threat that is posed in that region by Iran. Our efforts clearly reflect the President's commitment to diplomacy first, to diplomacy being the thing that he believes will and can succeed, but he's also a pragmatic man. And this is why it's probably the most transparent leader globally right now, is making it clear publicly about his positions and when he would be willing to be making decisions about that. But we are always working with our allies and our partners. It's clear, and that will be also evident when the President and Secretary of State go to The Hague for the NATO meeting next week. All right, now go ahead in the back. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Tammy, on Bangladesh. Given UN Human Rights Commission Chief Volker Turk concern over the banning of political parties in Bangladesh, also, Human Rights Watch has accused the UNIS-led interim government for arbitrarily targeting Awami League supporters. Does the U.S. consider this violation of democratic principle and condemn this action?
Obviously, when it comes to let's say, a White House reaction to what is occurring in another country, I would suggest you contact the White House. But for when it comes to Secretary of State and the State Department, let's take that back, and we'll get an answer for you in that regard. But what I can tell you about Bangladesh is that Deputy Secretary Landau met with Bangladesh National Security Advisor Rahman yesterday, I should say Wednesday, and discussed the interim government's efforts ahead of the national elections. They discussed the U.S.-Bangladesh relationship, including expanding trade and commercial ties. The United States is committed to working with Bangladesh to promote peace and stability in the region.
And I have a second short question on same. What is the State Department response to the alleged fabricated charges against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, the rise of mob killing and violence, and the imprisonment of individuals like 100 journalists without trial under this interim government? Will you condemn this and ask them to
we will
free them?
take that back, and I'll get you an answer as soon as we can get one for you. Yes, sir, in the middle here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tammy. The Turkish President Erdogan hosted the Armenian Prime Minister and his delegation in Istanbul today, and he mentioned that they talked regional issues, including the stability and peace in the Caucasian region and the problems or the issues between Turkey and Armenia. How do you follow these meetings?
Well, I've not spoken to the Secretary specifically about that particular instance, but I'm sure we will be able to get to you his opinion and the nature of how he's reacting. I would also suggest the White House as well for you for more information in that regard, but if we can take that back. And with that, that is going to be it for me today. It is, again, Friday. My thanks to you for coming up on a day that is not our normal briefing day, and I appreciate it. Have a lovely day. And we will see you next week. Tuesday and Thursday is where is it? Is security here or is security not here? Let's get this going because this has gotten a little old and inappropriate. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, State Department wrapping up their briefing for the week. A lot discussed about the Iran-Israel conflict right now as we await President Trump's decision. He gave, I think, 2 weeks. So we're into that. I don't know exactly how many days, but we still have more than a week and a half to go until we hear anything potentially on that front. We know that I-40 is a mess. It has been for more than 9 months since Helene. There's been some ongoing construction projects. I'd say one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. If you travel that way between Tennessee and North Carolina, you've seen it, one lane in each direction. It really is striking to see where the roadway is washed out. And 2 days ago, we actually had flooding issues on I-40 once again. On the Tennessee side, though, not far from the North Carolina side, and they're working in tandem. But we did speak to Tennessee DOT officials, and in fact, they had a press conference a couple of days ago just to update the situation and how long this could be in terms of a closure for this. We're finally learning that it could be 2 weeks, potentially more, for the entire cleanup to be done. So, and as we know, this is a huge economic corridor for commerce between the states and really for America as a whole. So let's go to this. Tennessee DOT officials standing on I-40 giving an update.
We have engaged them to help us. So we have Blaylock, Allen, thank you for being with us today. We have Jones Brothers that has also been participating and helping us. And so we're going to respond. We're going to respond as quickly as possible to get this back open. We know how important it is to this region, to our economy here, and we're going to continue to get this work every day till we get this open as quickly as possible. Will?
Yeah, Will Reed, Chief Engineer, TDOT. As the Commissioner mentioned, give you a little recap of what TDOT's role has been in this in the last 24 hours. So yesterday afternoon, we've got, according to the National Weather Service, approximately 2.5 to 3.5 inches of rain in a 2-hour period. Once that rain subsided, our TDOT assets quickly went into recovery mode along with THP as well as Cocke County's emergency management forces, and frankly our contractors that were on site. I want to thank them too. They were a big part of helping us recover, get folks to safety right off the bat. So once we were able to do that, we quickly went into cleanup mode. The contractors that were on site began cleaning up mud and debris where they could. We also had to divert the water that was continuing to pool onto the interstate and become a problem. So now that we have gotten those initial stages out of the way, we went to work late last night, early this morning with our TDOT staff assessing the damage. As the Commissioner mentioned, we've got 4 slide sites, this one behind me being the major one that are having to be assessed. One of the things we're looking at is the stability of the geology here. You can see behind me that a lot of the what we call overburden, the dirt that was on top of the rock here has slid off the side of the mountain. We've got to get that cleaned up and then assess the rock underneath as well as the county road that's above that. So we're going to continue to do that throughout today. I can tell you at this point that what we feel like is we have a goal of getting the interstate reopened in the next 2 weeks. However, we have a significant amount of work to do down here at the interchange at 451. We think that's going to take a little bit longer, but we'll be able to give you more information on that as it becomes available. But right now, we have put Charles Blaylock and Sons to work as of 6:30 this a.m. cleaning up the site, so work is actively going on. We've had anywhere from 20 to 30 TDOT employees on site this entire time. Also have over 35 members or 35 contractors that are here helping. So we are, as I said, estimating 2 weeks. I want to encourage everybody, we're going to use the same detour routes that we used during Helene. Those will be posted on our website, so I want to direct everybody to those. And as more information becomes available about the status of repairs, we'll provide that via our website. I also want to thank, again, the local elected officials as well as our state partners. One of the reasons we're able to respond so quickly is the sound fiscal management of the state of Tennessee. Them passing the TMA a few years ago, we got cash in the bank, which allows us to respond very quickly, so I want to thank them. I also want to thank my counterparts in North Carolina. NCDOT was a big part of helping us retrieve vehicles as well as manage traffic on this corridor. We'll continue to work with them as we go forward, managing detour routes, and we'll have more information about the repairs as they become available.
Before we take questions, I want to offer opportunity for representatives to go ahead.
You know, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
And each time, Cocke County keeps coming up swinging. And we're proud of them for that. When you look at what happened here over the past few months, you know, already the whitewater rafting is back up and running. If you go downtown Newport, you know, it's opened back up again. So we're really fighting to keep everything going. If you're trying to come from North Carolina into Tennessee, you can always take Highway 2570 coming out of Hot Springs and Nashville that way. So thank you.
Senator, we'll go to first Representative Nathan.
So what I hope the listeners know is that you can still come and raft. There's still rafting right here in Hartford, Tennessee. We want you to come. There's a great little restaurant called the Bean Trees, and even though we're down, we're not out. We will rebuild. We'll continue to rebuild. I'm talking with TDOT. They're not stopping all the other stuff that's going on right here. You can see this place has been devastated. All that work is going to continue as this work is going to continue. And the other thing I'd like to say is they're hoping within 2 weeks to have this completely right back open the way it was. So please continue to come here. Our county depends on the rafting and the people coming through here. So all of the viewers, call today. Get a trip coming down the river. Come see how fun this place is and support this economy.
Amen. Just once real quickly, I just want to again commend everyone. This is like a miniature version of any disaster such as Helene. You've got the three aspects of it. You got the response, the rescue, and the recovery. And last night's response and rescue was everybody springing into action together. It was our county EMA, our emergency responders, TDOT, and all the folks, the engineers, and all the folks that were already working on this road just sprang into action. And that is why, thankfully, we were able to say today that we have everyone who is impacted by this. It was on the road in the home that was flooded. We've got everyone is accounted for. We have no injuries, no casualties, and everybody's okay, and even the pets were saved. So we want to say that thank everybody who had a part in that, and then moving forward, we're going to have that same spirit of teamwork and cooperation in the recovery phase. And again, everyone here said, we're hoping in 2 weeks, but however long that takes, we stand ready to help, and we are so grateful for the help from the state and the governor's administration. And just as a Representative Faison also said, the rafting is back up and running. We're hoping to make that better and enhance that as we go along. But we were down talking to the president of the Rafters Association today, and we're on site at one of the rafting companies, and they're up and running. The crowds are having fun. They're doing great. So absolutely, this is a setback. This is not a defeat. And as Senator Sutherland said, we are a resilient and resourceful people, and we are putting that into practice, and that's not going to change, and we are going to come out of this stronger than we went in no matter what. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a few questions if anybody has any, and then we'll get back to work. Anybody?
Yes, just how big of a miracle is it that there's no injuries, everyone's accounted, and everyone's able to walk out safe?
Well, anytime you have something of this nature happen, which is obviously a force of nature, then when you come out of it with no injuries, we are very blessed and fortunate to be able to get through that. And so we're just happy about that. But much of it is due, as has already been said, to our first responders. The people in this community responded immediately. People were out here helping each other, and our workforce out here was helping those that were immediately impacted as part of this. And so we're thankful and grateful that everybody did come out okay.
Does this change the engineering of any of the work that was going on post-Helene?
You want to answer
that? I would say we do have some sites that we were working on that were impacted by this. The good thing is we got forces here. We've had forces here since Helene, so I'm confident that we'll be able to. This site you see behind you is the most, what I'll say, invasive with regards to the improvements that are going to have to be had. But again, we've got a good plan. We've I think shown a track record that we can respond when things like this happen. So I'm confident in TDOT. I'm confident in our engineers, and we're going to get it done quickly.
What caused the rock slide?
Well, we're still piecing that together, but the long and short of it is that's a lot of water in a very short period of time. Okay, when you have 2.5 to 3.5 inches of water that's very localized in a very short period of time, these things can happen. We are in summertime and these storms pop up, and you know, there was a flash flood warning that was issued, thankfully, by the National Weather Service. So, you know, I would just say when folks hear that, you need to take those kinds of things seriously. And thankfully, folks did, and agencies were able to respond quickly. So I think that's a big part of it.
We know you said 2 weeks, hopefully 2 weeks. What kind of work is going to go into making sure that the side of the roads are clear and on that side of the barrier is safe to continue to do that work?
So this is what we do. Challenges when it comes to engineering and constructing things are what we love to do every day. So you know, there'll be work going on over here at the same time there is. But, you know, I mean, we do challenging work all the time. We're not worried about that. As far as the scope of the repairs, what you'll see behind me, without getting too into the weeds, is you'll see some of this material that's on the side of the hill have to come off. You'll see what we call some scaling and trimming, where we actually take some of the loose rock off, and then we'll make sure that we get that county road up there, that slope safe, such that we don't have those issues in the future. May end up putting some rock drapes on there that are pretty common in this area. Again, we'll assess that as we go. There are actually engineers working in the office right now as I speak to come up with those plans for those fixes.
And you said there were 4, this obviously being the biggest one.
Yeah.
Where were the other 3?
They're scattered out throughout this stretch. I will say I want to make clear that there is significant damage to this interchange. While we're looking at this one slide, there's several feet of mud. Those are entrance ramps to or exit ramps to an interchange down there. We're going to go to work getting those cleaned up such that we can assess what kind of damage there is there. But our focus is going to be on getting the interstate, getting connectivity, getting the interstate open as quickly as we can. We know this area depends on this route from a commerce standpoint as well as emergency services. So our focus is always getting our routes reconnected as soon as possible.
Let me add something to what he said. When this area of Tennessee hurts, the whole state hurts. This is a major artery that feeds all the way to Memphis. And I want to brag on TDOT just for a minute. I'm actually good friends with the state representative from right here on this side of North Carolina. And when all this was going on with Hurricane Helene, he called me one time. He said, "Jeremy, I hate to think that Tennessee does anything better than we do, but the way your Department of Transportation has responded with the quickness, the viciousness, the money up front, the way y'all have done that, we could never do that in North Carolina." And I've looked and seen other states that don't have the capacity to answer with this quickness. With less than 24 hours, our guys are here. We're already working on it. We've got engineers, part of it. Blaylock and Jones are already doing the work. That's something that all of your viewers can be proud of. This is our state, and we're not in debt by doing that. This is ran well, and we've got a great commissioner that we're going to miss one day. He's announced his retirement. We're going to miss him, but TDOT has ran well, and we benefit from how they run this state and our highways.
Y'all mentioned that you had you had funds available. Do you have an estimate of the cost? I know it's so early.
Yeah, it is early. Do you want to mention that question? You can go ahead. So right now we think we're in the $500,000 range with where we are, but again, I want to say, depending on what we find when we uncover this interchange, that could change. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of experience here lately with what these types of repairs cost, so we have some pretty good information on that, but that's where we're thinking right now, somewhere around $500,000. And the reason that's so important for a state like Tennessee to have that money is we're not dependent on another federal agency for us to go to work. We can go to work right now, and that makes a big difference in getting connectivity restored quickly.
Which was the big difference that they experienced there in North Carolina, and that because the action that was taken on part of the legislature to give TDOT dollars before we had these kind of incidents, so that we could react immediately and not have to wait on the federal government to come in and bail us out. So we were able to get to work immediately and put these dollars to work and get this work done. And so that's the important difference between that.
For any of the elected officials here, knowing we're 7-8 months removed from Helene, the initial disaster, seeing this happen again, what was kind of going through your all's heads, hearing that this same area was once again being impacted by flash floods and devastating slides?
when you first get the report, obviously we're still in trauma from, we still got that, ears are still ringing from 8 months ago. And so when that first call went out, immediately it was like, oh no, not again. But then within a half a second later, that is, okay, let's do this. And that's what we do. Whatever the challenge is, we're going to face it together head on, and we're going to overcome it. Doesn't matter what it is. Like just Senator Sutherland says, you get knocked down, so what? You get back up and you keep going, and that's what we're going to do. No matter what. If this happens again, we'll do the same.
And Mayor, that's my second question. I mean, just what does this tell you about Cobb County? It's been a one-two punch.
It's reminded, as has been said many times, it's reminded us who we are. That we are a tough and resilient people. Our ancestors they carved this community out of the wilderness, and we are the descendants of those people. And we still have that same toughness and resilience and unity, and that's what gets us through, and that's what we're going to keep doing. And with that, and the help of God and our friends at the state of Tennessee and TDOT and Commissioner Ely and everybody else and all of our friends and neighbors in surrounding areas, that's what's getting us through. That's what's always got us through, and that's going to continue to be that way. And we're going to make each day a little better than the last.
All right, we're going to go get to work, and we're not going to stop till we get this done. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that gives us a great segue point to show you this interview we actually did last night that followed up after that press conference with Mark Nagy with Tennessee DOT. I asked him a couple of different questions. I think one of the biggest, though, is could they expect or potentially see any other issues like what we saw over the last couple of days on I-40 again? And he really wasn't able to give me a straight answer, saying that it is a possibility, especially where we're at with this severe weather season. Some of the areas that have been inundated with rain, and obviously just the nature of the forecast could really impact I-40 over the next couple of months. So we'll go to this interview now. We're just in the early parts of this repair, it seems like. I mean, I know you guys have been working on I-40 for more than 10 months now, as I just said, but it seems like this has hampered the progress, right?
We're continuing to assess that entire section of roadway. I mean, where the flooding and the rock slide occurred 24 hours ago, that is around mile marker 450, very close to the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. I-40 is in 7 separate sections between mile marker 446 and mile marker 441. We do believe that one of those sections where we're trying to rebuild I-40 was affected by this recent rock slide and flooding. Fortunately, it looks like Mother Nature is going to do us a little bit of a favor over the next week or so, have a lot of dry conditions, not very much rain. That'll allow us to continue to investigate, see what else needs to be done on that one section of I-40 for Hurricane Helene recovery. But certainly anybody who travels on the interstate between Tennessee and North Carolina, what we saw and what we're dealing with right now is certainly the last thing that anybody wants to deal with.
Absolutely. Can totally agree with those sentiments. I actually traveled that corridor quite heavily to get my children in Knoxville who live in Louisville. So for me, it was great when you guys opened one lane on both. That was just, and I know North Carolina was involved in that as well, but I cannot tell you the stress that took off. And I know now, the pressure's back on. So like I said, I feel for you guys and thinking about that because as we know, it's such a critical corridor for Tennessee and North Carolina to work together. And I know you guys are making that a priority, I guess. All right, we have the president speaking right now. They just landed in Morristown, New Jersey. We're going to go to it live.
Very great job with India and Pakistan, and we had India in. It looks like we're going to be making a trade deal with India, and we had Pakistan in. It looks like we're going to be making a trade deal with Pakistan, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. The Serbia, Kosovo, likewise, they've been fighting for years, and as you know, we brought that one to a conclusion, and now we have a couple of big ones. We have Russia, Ukraine, which is making a little bit of progress. And we have Israel, and nobody really knows what that one is all about. We're going to find out pretty soon, I guess.
Mr. President, the Iranian foreign minister this afternoon said if the U.S. is serious about negotiations, that you would call up Israel and request that they stop their airstrikes. Will you make that request?
Well, I think it's very hard to make that request right now. If somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, what was the thought process behind 2-week timetable?
Just time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
Mr. President, did the Europeans help at all in talking with the Iranians?
No, they didn't help. No. Iran doesn't want to speak to Europe. They want to speak to us. Europe is not going to be able to help in this.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, there was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Mr. President, are the Chinese in any way helping Iran at this moment? We're hearing reports of mysterious planes landing in Iran from China.
I don't know. They say that they're there to take people out, but I can't tell you about that. I get along very well with China, get along very well with President Xi. I like him. He likes me. We have a very good relationship. We'll see what happens. I can't imagine them getting involved.
Is this a decision that you need to make on Iran, whether to strike militarily? Is this the biggest decision you'll have to make as president?
Well, I can't tell you that. I have to see what happens. I can't, really say that. It depends what the decision is. But I wouldn't really be able to tell you that now. I'll tell you in about a year from now, maybe 5 years or 10 years from now. You never know about decisions. You never really know.
Sir, would you support a ceasefire while the negotiations happen?
I might, depending on the circumstances.
Would you?
Former Congressman Matt, it's very hard to stop. I will say this. It's very hard to stop when you look at it. Israel's doing well in terms of war, and I think you would say that Iran is doing less well. It's a little bit hard to get somebody to stop.
Sir, Liam Oscar was here. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz threw out an interesting idea suggesting that if you were to broker a deal where nuclear inspectors go into both Israel and Iran, that you could win a Nobel Peace Prize, and they might even rename it the Trump Peace Prize. Did you hear those? What do you think of that?
Well, they should give me the Nobel Prize for Rwanda and if you look, the Congo, or you could say Serbia, Kosovo, you could say a lot of them. You could say, the big one is India and Pakistan. I should have gotten it 4 or 5 times. I should get it for the, I would think the Abraham Accords would be a good one too.
But what do you
they
think
won't
of
give
that
me a
idea?
Nobel Peace Prize because they only give it to liberals.
Would you support Iran being able to have nuclear, or would you support Iran being able to have civilian nuclear energy capabilities up to 3.76%?
You know, they're sitting on the top of one of the largest piles of oil in the world. I just don't know why they need that for civilian work. You know, it's one thing for certain countries to say, hey, I want to have a certain amount where I can go nuclear a little bit because we need it for electricity, we need it for air conditioners, etc. But when you're sitting on one of the largest oil piles anywhere in the world, it's a little bit hard to see why you need that. Yeah.
Are you concerned that Iran or its proxies would wage terror attacks against American targets abroad if you order military action?
We're always concerned about that, and we have to take them out and be very strong. You're even in danger talking to me right now. Do you know that? You are in danger talking to me right now. So I should probably get out of here, but you guys are actually in danger. Can you believe it?
One more, Mr. President. Is it still your expectation that NATO countries spend 5% of their GDP on defense spending?
Well, I think they should do that. I don't think we should, but I think they should. We've been supporting NATO so long. In many cases, I believe paying almost 100% the cost. So I don't think we should, but I think that the NATO countries should, absolutely.
And if a country like Spain decides not to?
Well, NATO's going to have to deal with Spain. Spain's been a very low payer. They were always a very low payer. They were either good negotiators or they weren't doing the right thing. I mean, I think Spain has to pay what everybody else has to pay. Spain has been notorious for low pay. You know who else was a low payer, just about the lowest? A place called Canada. Because Canada said, why should we pay when the United States will protect us free? And they've been right about that.
Russia, Ukraine, you've been making progress toward the peace deal, but I don't know if you know this, but Lindsey Graham and Mike Pompeo were there on the ground in Ukraine, seemingly doing the opposite, trying to provoke the Ukrainians to keep fighting. What do you think of that?
Well, we're going to see, and people have to be very careful with what they say. They're going to be very careful with their mouth, because their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble.
One more. ICE. ICE has said that they're trying to arrest up to 3,000 individuals a day. There are some communities that are saying they are fearful of being wrongfully detained or separating some families, even if they're undocumented. Is the fear in some of these communities worth the deportations of these undocumented individuals, a mass deportation program?
Always a tough subject, because look, we have farmers. I love farmers. I won 80%, 85% of the farmers, and I love them, and I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers. And you could also say the leisure business, etc. There are some businesses where you have a disproportionate amount of people that are the people that you're talking about. At the same time, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And we're looking at doing something where, in the case of good, reputable farmers, they can take responsibility for the people that they hire and let them have responsibility, because we can't put the farms out of business. And at the same time, we don't want to hurt people that aren't criminals. Most of the people that came in over the last 3 years under Biden, I would say probably 3.5 to 4 years, those people, you have a lot of criminals, you have a lot of, I mean, we're looking at that very closely. You've had people that have worked on farms for 20 years. It's very hard to go in there and say, you know, you're coming out. But we're going to let the farmers take responsibility. They're great people. They'll do it. They know the good and the bad. So the hard part about this is not like a normal war where people wear uniforms. They don't wear uniforms. But we have murderers that came out of the last 4 years. We have murderers. We have drug lords. We have people that we don't want to. We have prisoners. They emptied out Venezuela and many countries. They emptied out their prisons into the United States. We have to get those people out. But we have stone-cold murders, 11,888 murders. We've already gotten a lot of them out of here, but we don't want them, so we have to be careful. But I never want to hurt our farmers. Our farmers are great people. They keep us happy and healthy and fat.
Are there other cities that you're going to try to replicate what you've done in Los Angeles?
Well, I mean, we had a big victory last night in the Court of Appeals with respect to Los Angeles, but really the country, where Gavin Newsom, who's really an incompetent governor, he's just doing a terrible job between his fires, between all the houses burning down, his forest fires, and now Los Angeles. If we didn't go to Los Angeles, and the sheriff admitted it, he had no control. He would have lost control. We saved Los Angeles by having the military go in. And the second night was much better. The third night was nothing much. And the fourth night, nobody bothered even coming. We put out that fire, and we did a great job of it. He sued us for going in and for helping him. We went and helped him. Right now, you'd have Los Angeles burning to the ground. Largely, it would have already been destroyed.
Do you want your legacy, Mr. President, to be that of a peacemaker? Do you worry that striking Iran would change that?
Always a peacemaker. That doesn't mean sometimes you need some toughness to make peace, but always a peacemaker.
Can you win in Iran without ground forces?
Okay.
Is an aerial campaign in Iran enough, or do you need ground forces?
Well, I'm not going to talk about ground forces. The last thing you want to do is ground forces.
Does Iran have 2 weeks, or could you strike before that? Are you essentially giving them a 2-week timeline?
I'm giving them a period of time. We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving them a period of time. And I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
Mr. President, do you think deportations should focus on criminals or all the people who are here illegally?
Should start focusing on criminals, and that's what we've been focused on. Very bad criminals, dangerous criminals.
But Stephen Miller said to go out and arrest every person who's here illegally. He's told ICE to arrest everyone who's here illegally. Do you agree with that?
Stephen and I have a very good understanding. He's a terrific person. We have a great understanding.
Mr. President, if there is an attack on U.S. assets, will you promise to conduct a full investigation and make it transparent with the American people before blaming Iran for such an attack?
Well, if there's an attack, we'll know almost immediately with modern equipment who made the attack, and those people will be very, very unhappy. Would you
Prime
share
Minister,
that? And I want to get you people out of danger. You're in danger standing with me.
One more. Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities?
Well, I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
Would you like to see Congress pass a bill that bans child transgender surgeries?
Well, I know they're talking about it, aren't they? We're going to have to see how it comes to me in what form. Certainly, it's been something I've been talking about also. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right, the president speaking in New Jersey after just touching down about 10 minutes ago. But we do have a breaking news alert coming to us from Louisville, Kentucky, from our news partners at WAVE Wave in Louisville, Kentucky. This is surrounding a hotel in Linden, which is on the east side of Louisville. It is more of like a neighborhood, just like we have here inside Mecklenburg County in some sense. But it's a very peculiar incident in some sense because there's not a lot of information. All we're told at this point is that a person was detained by police after a fire was started at this hotel inside a room. Now, the chief of the Linden Police Department saying that officers were called to this hotel, as you saw, it was the Spring Hill Suites, that is. And around 12:20, this is when they got this call. Apparently, a guest failed to check out of a room at this hotel and then would not respond to communication attempts by hotel staff. Then the chief says that hotel staff tried to open that door, and then something inside the room caused a fire. Officers used fire extinguishers to put the fire out, but as you can see, it seems like officers are getting in tactical gear. So I would assume the situation is still evolving and developing at this time. It says right now that firefighters, along with St. Matthews, even ATF agents that are on scene with Louisville Metro Police, including the bomb squad with Metro Police, they have also arrived on scene. So as you can see from the background of that, there's that command center truck in between both of these buildings. I would assume that's where a lot of these operations are being headquartered at this time at the Spring Hill Suites. Yes, there's the bomb squad there. So yeah, this is an active situation, and again, a very peculiar situation because we're told this was a fire, but there's been reports online that there was some type of explosion heard, and we're not seeing, obviously, by this shot, which we are tilting up, these photographers trying to get a better angle for us at this time, but you can't see any damage from this angle of the Spring Hill Suites. But like I said, a very interesting situation here that was called in around 12:20 p.m. and that is still evolving into the 3 o'clock hour. This is happening in Louisville, Kentucky, in Linden specifically, a neighborhood inside Louisville, which is east of Louisville. Communication attempts by many hotel individuals had been made to this individual who was in this hotel room, and then some type of fire started after they tried to get into this hotel room. So ATF agents are on scene right now with members of the Louisville Metro Police Department bomb squad, which is the shot you just saw. And it looks like potentially maybe they're getting some video of two rooms or a room that might be connected to all of this. Obviously, that's just preliminary information that we're trying to glean from what we're seeing in this perspective. But you just never know as they look to try and get video and get more information from this. But again, we don't know much. We don't know of any injuries at this time, but quite a big response for a situation like this. So we'll continue to keep you updated once we get more information. But we will go back now to our Tennessee DOT interview with Mark Nagy. Children in Knoxville who live in Louisville. So for me, it was great when you guys opened one lane on both sides. that was just, and I know North Carolina was involved in that as well, but I cannot tell you the stress that took off. And I know now, the pressure's back on. So like I said, I feel for you guys and thinking about that because as we know, it's such a critical corridor for Tennessee and North Carolina to work together. And I know you guys are making that a priority, I guess. Can I ask, in terms of the debris and really just the rock slides, right? It leads me to believe that if we see heavy rain again, which we're in that mode, that things like this could happen maybe along other parts of I-40. I mean, what are the concerns going through this severe weather season that you guys are still thinking on? Do you think this could happen again potentially?
It's certainly possible. This is an area that has proven to be prone to rock slides and mudslides, some flooding. So seeing what we've seen since yesterday is not extremely foreign. I mean, it's something that folks in this area are used to. The good news, at least, is that while there's a lot of debris on the roadway, a lot of mud, still standing water that we've got to wait to when that recedes, the good news is that this is not nearly as extensive as what we saw with Hurricane Helene. I mean, that wasn't just a generational storm. That was a multi-generational storm. It was something we've never seen before in our part of the country. Hopefully we never see that again. The work for this rock slide and flooding, we anticipated taking about 2 weeks until we get I-40 back to what it was before Wednesday afternoon. And our crews and our contractors will work diligently to get this roadway back open as quickly as possible.
My next question, Mark, is about those detours. I know you guys already have those up there. What should drivers realize as they are getting towards this area, and what detours would you suggest for folks to use?
Well, it's a good thing that there are multiple interstates in this area that folks can use to get around the state line of Tennessee, North Carolina on I-40. So we're telling folks in Tennessee that they should use I-81 north and then take that to I-26 east and access North Carolina that way. Wide loads, much like it was during Hurricane Helene, before we got I-40 open on both sides of the state line, we're telling those wide loads to use I-81 north to I-77 south into Virginia and then back into North Carolina that way. So it does add some time, obviously, to folks that are trying to get to and from their vacation spots, just to and from their normal daily activities. But the most important thing is here that those interstates will keep them safe, because it's just not safe to travel between between Tennessee and North Carolina on I-40 right now, which is why we have it shut down.
That makes Hopefully people will heed that advice to make sure that everyone stays safe in that area, especially the workers and the law enforcement that obviously is helping in this endeavor. I guess my last thing would be, I spoke about the commerce, right, and how the economic impact, and you guys have really lessened that by trying to get a lane in each direction in both states. Talk about that work and really how you guys work together with the North Carolina DOT, because, like I said, I've been through that stretch. There is so much going on day to day. So what does that look like for folks that aren't there just behind the scenes?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that pictures and video really do it justice, what has happened to I-40 in Tennessee and North Carolina. And as bad as it is on our side of the state line, the amount of earth that was washed away on September 27th of 2024, North Carolina has it pretty bad as well. So this, unfortunately, is not the type of thing that can be a quick rebuild to have 2 lanes open in each direction on both sides of the state line. This is a long-term reconstruction project for both the TDOT, both the Tennessee Department of Transportation as well as the NCDOT. We talk with them all the time. We work with them all the time in trying to find the best ways to keep that traffic flowing, both for your normal everyday travelers and as well as all the commercial traffic that has to go through this area. So, we understand that, having that detour, while it is safer, it does add a lot of time. It can delay things. But again, the most important thing is to try to keep everybody safe here. And that's what we are dedicated to do.
Absolutely. I don't want to keep you too long on this holiday. I know you're working and on the stream for us, so we appreciate your time. But Mark, last thing I wanted to ask, did I miss anything? Anything that you wanted to elaborate on, tell folks about here in the Charlotte area? As I said, so many people go up to Gatlinburg and then go up to Knoxville as well and try to use I-40. So any other things that you just wanted to make note of?
I would tell folks that you should always adhere to all message boards that are on these roadways. And if you have any questions about what's going on in the Tennessee side of the state line, go to smartway.tn.gov. It gives real-time information as to what's happening on our interstates and state routes. So if there are crashes, if there are backups, roadways that are closed, obviously like I-40 at the state line, we have our traffic cameras on there as well. It's a terrific resource for folks to use. You should definitely check it out before you get behind the wheel. But don't use that resource when you are driving. Make sure that you're keeping your phone hands-free.
Absolutely. Want to make sure that everyone is safe out there. Mark, thank you, and thank the Tennessee DOT leaders out there who are doing all the work, especially in this heat. We're thinking of you guys, and I hope you can get some relief for the next couple of days. But again, thanks for the work and the time tonight, my friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, great discussion and great to have Mark on. I'm sure we'll be checking in with him over the next couple of weeks, potentially even the next couple of months as the situation continues to unfold. We've got a hot weekend ahead for us. That heat dome is here today. We're getting a reprieve, it feels like, in some sense. It's crazy that I'm even saying that with temperatures getting close to 90 today, but the humidity is not bad, which is really what's going to be tough to deal with over the next couple of days and make our feels like temperature even higher than what you will see on the forecast. So we'll go to the forecast and what's expected with Majestic Storm right now.
Well, good Friday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and boy, do we have an absolutely gorgeous weekend ahead, but it is going to be very hot at times. We'll start with today. We'll take a look ahead at what you need to be ready for, plus next week. Now, if you have any plans for your Friday, it's going to be beautiful. We're talking about temperatures that are right around where we should be for this time of the year. Tomorrow for your Saturday, if you want to beat the heat, you need to wake up early, get those errands done. If you want to work out in the yard, you got to get that done early as well, because we're cranking up the heat. Not just the heat, but the humidity as well. And dangerous heat really starts to move back into our area by next week, where at times it's going to feel between 105 to 110 degrees. So today we're going to see our temperatures mainly rise into the upper 80s, low 90-degree temperatures. That's about where we should be for a day like today. Nice mix of sun and clouds as we head towards the later part of our afternoon, but it's not just our daytime highs that I'm really keeping a close eye on, but even our overnight lows are struggling to cool, so we're not getting a lot of that overnight relief. You can see as we're looking up towards the mountains, this is where it's actually comfortable. Mid to upper 70s, some low 80-degree temperatures. Not only do we have cooler temperatures, but also, of course, less humidity. A great place to be this weekend if you don't like the heat and humidity. Out towards Lenore and Morganton, look at that, sunny skies all afternoon, and yes, we're cranking up the heat. Plan for those mid to upper 80s, and then right around the Charlotte metro area, little hotter, 90 degrees in Charlotte today, 90 for Gastonia, and about 92 for Lincolnton. Might be a great afternoon to take those kids to the pool, or even just turn on the sprinkler, let them go outside and play. Just find a nice way for everyone to stay cool, especially if you're somebody who does not have air conditioning. The next few days are going to get a bit brutal. As we're looking at Rock Hill, about 90 degrees for your forecasted high, and over the next 3 days, we're 90 today, even hotter for Saturday, and Sunday a high temperature of 95 degrees. But here's the catch. Now, the humidity today is actually going to be just okay. Once we head into the next few days, you'll notice an increase in that humidity, but really an increase in those temperatures. We are riding this roller coaster up. Look at this. 97 on Monday, Tuesday a high of 99 degrees, multiple days in a row into the 90s. So a dangerous stretch of very warm temperatures. No rain showers over the next several days. We really won't have our next best opportunity until the middle of next week. Humidity today, it's going to be all right. Not the worst we've ever seen. You'll notice an increase in humidity, though, this upcoming weekend. So if you want to go out to the farmer's market, do it early in the day, because as we head into the afternoon, yeah, those temperatures increase, but so will that humidity. If you're heading out to the lake this weekend, that'd be a great place to be.